morning, Senator. There's one here. That's pointing over here at the X, and then this one's pointing up to the stage. My job is to push one button.
I'm worried that I messed it up.
Yeah, that one's there.
Oh, okay, sorry. I did. So Ron Morris, you push the button?
I can deal with numbers.
Yes.
Okay, okay, sorry. I was afraid of the names.
Oh.
I was like.
No, you're.
I don't know, sorry.
Thank you.
That's the first thing that I mentioned.
Thank you.
I have shared a list of
what's the explanation of that? That's all the people that need to be up there, and then I think you just said
That's it.
I also see Nestor Castro so I mean like Nestor Castro.
I think there's a lot of fair number of people
Oh,
still outside.
I think last name, blind name, some sort of.
We're having trouble getting our act together.
Yeah, let me make a new sheet.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike, can you make sure you're muted?
I muted. I thought it was.
Well, you may be. I can't tell.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. I'm not joining the audio.
That's probably why I don't see the audio.
I figured it would be best to get not even past
Right. But in the end, I want a guy here to do it.
I'm getting out of here.
The equipment's getting out of here.
Don't waste your time.
We have 9 delegates online.
That's more than yesterday.
Yes.
I think we have like a glasses cleaner. Like glasses cleaner. No.
In my car, in my.
Oh, you know what? I might have one of these.
So I need to start the recording.
I think I put it in my car. I feel good if you're you.
But I almost smudged it before, but I didn't. I thought this was a cool deal they were doing.
Your reaction to support. The meeting is being recorded by the Llanahan.
On table, you can see it.
Yeah. It's funny, it takes a while to yeah. Well, when I transition around my focuses, usually.
If everybody could start making their way up to the front. Stephen, could you do me a favor? Can you grab the folks out in the back in the patio there and tell them to start filtering in? Thank you, sir. Oh, yeah. While we're waiting for some folks to make their way up, there's some coffee out in the back if you want to grab a cup.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes, sir. One. second?
My reaction was, it's great to see you buy. I don't think you're safe. Should we find three of the books you want to get to the force of vote?
I need a lot of time.
When I was up for treasurer, I was like, I would try to. Couldn't find anybody to run against you.
Thomas Bibby's are in
I probably should.
He's been around, he's not in this convention, family or whatever she was, but he's a black dude, he runs around, this is probably racist, so now, on Facebook, all is a joke, right, just to mock beautiful people, and he was commenting about the secessional language, and I said, please come and object to this, and say, this is racism.
Good morning, everybody. Before we get started, is there anybody in the room, and if you could raise your hand, that did not provide their email address to the registration folks across the hall? Yes, ma'am.
Is that really the question you're asking? Because are you assuming that people are checking their email on their phone?
Yes.
Or whatever.
Or whatever device that they have. If they have a laptop, phone.
I think that there's a different problem. There may be some people who need their votes manually input.
We can do that.
Okay. Did those people raise their hand?
Yeah, so there's a list across the hall in registration where we've been trying to get folks' email addresses. Where we're looking to use OPA later on for the election of delegates because we have more people interested than we have slots. OPA is going to be the balloting system that we intend to use because it is going to be a lot quicker for us to tally this, which means that we can get done with business today much faster and get everybody out of here on time. So, if you have an email address and you haven't gone across the hall to see D at registration, please make sure that you do so. Yes, ma'am.
So again, if people are not checking their email on a device here.
We're going, when we have the election, we're going to tell people, check your email, an email just went out.
But let me try to be clear again. If people are not checking their email on a device here, because there may be people here.
You mean that they don't have a device?
Yes.
Okay, we have a solution for that. That's why you gotta let me finish.
Was going to say, those are the people
Yes.
you're trying to identify.
Yes, no, I'm trying to identify people who have not given us their email address because we ran a test yesterday and there are some people like myself,
Right.
although I've used the same email address with the LPNC for the last 6 years since I've lived here, my email did not show up on the list. So we just want to make sure that even if it's an email address that you've gotten you've gotten emails from the LPNC, just confirm that email address across the hall so we make sure everybody gets an email.
If we got that test email from yesterday, can we assume that we?
If you've gotten an OPA vote, if you did get an OPA vote email yesterday, then it confirms that we have the correct email address for you. If for some reason you do not have an actual email address, I guess it happens these days, that you can access. So something that you can't access on your own. We will have a laptop dedicated for folks who need to check their email so that they can vote. If for some reason you don't have an email, right, Brad? We have for some reason, if you don't have an email at all, we have the ability to provide you with an email address as like a one-off type of thing, so that you can participate in the vote. Does anybody have any questions? So, before we get started, does anybody need to run across the hall to provide their email address at the registration table? We'll delay a little bit here and let folks do that, because I want to make sure everybody gets an email and that nobody's left out. If there's something that you didn't understand because I didn't explain it correctly, please let me know and I will try to clarify. ¿Cómo se dice? So we're going to delay the reconvening here until folks get their stuff set up. Is there anybody here? Please raise your hand if you do not have a device to actually access an email address that you are currently an owner of, and yeah, you. Yeah. Okay, so would you like an email address? No, what I'm saying, so.
So I don't think you're understanding the problem. So there may be some people, I don't know about this person that you're talking to, but I know that there's at least one other person. They have an email address. They typically check their email on their computer at home. They don't use their phone for that. They don't go to a website and just pull up their email across Gmail people.
They also have access to
hold on.
email here.
Right. So you can manually input their votes, is what I'm asking?
No.
Wait, Brad, why don't you take a microphone and explain to everybody, because you'll explain it a little bit better, since you're running it.
Hey, Brad, go.
Don't touch the buttons.
In theory, we could do that, but we would prefer to avoid the possibility of some kind of transmission error if they would vote themselves, and for that purpose, we have proxy emails that we can provide. Hopefully, there's no more than 1 or 2 people that are in that situation.
You can use my laptop for that.
We have laptops in the registration area that are devoted for that purpose. And for anybody that does have an accessible email but can't access it themselves, they can also use the registration computers for that. Does that address your question?
It addresses my question, yes.
Super.
Standing ovation for Brad.
That's why I asked Brad to take the mic.
It's actually John Underwood who's doing all the work.
But, so I'm just a pretty face up here. Brad and John are doing, the groundwork, and it was easier for Brad to explain it. But yes, so does anybody have any of those issues that we need to address? Because once we get to that portion of the business, I'd like to try to move things along, because I want to value everybody's time today.
If there is somebody that needs an email, see me.
Yes, if there's somebody that needs an email address for today, a proxy email address, please see Brad soon, so we can get that set up, okay? We all good? Anybody have any further questions? All right, let's reconvene. Mr. Brown, Secretary's report, please.
Good morning. Currently, we have 69 delegates checked in, and the 2/3 majority is 46, and the 50% plus 1 is 36 as well, or 35.
Thank you. Could we get somebody to turn the lights down slightly, because we're going to be moving next to debate and voting on the one resolution that we had submitted by Mr. Brian Irving, and I'd like to have people, thank you, Stephen. I'd like to have everybody be able to see it. Ryan, when you have a chance, can you put that up on the screen?
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Come speak to it.
Defend the guard resolution.
Yeah, no, just go through it. Make sure everybody gets it.
This is the resolution that I read yesterday when we opened, and it's in your packet. Those of you who know me know I spent 25 years and change in the United States Air Force. I have no regrets. I do recognize now as I grow older that some of the things that our U.S. military was involved in weren't quite right. Actually, I started realizing that towards the end of my career. I am tired of seeing young men and women sent overseas in needless wars. Tired of it. I'm 73 years old. We've been at war somewhere in the world, killing people all my life. It needs to stop. I am all for defending the United States. I am all for, pardon the expression, kicking ass if somebody attacks us. I'm not a pacifist, but I don't believe in aggression. There are places in the world where we need to be involved, potentially even with military force. But 90% of them that we're involved in now aren't those. So I was sitting at my computer reading a report on the Russian invasion of Ukraine, a military, kind of a military-ish document, and it just occurred to me, and then I knew about this. There's a group called Defend the Guard, as part of the 10th Amendment Center. They have been promoting this, actually they've been promoting legislation to get states to sign on to enact this into their law. We'll talk about that later. 45% of the U.S. military force is either Guard or reserve units. These are the people that are fighting these needless wars. But none of this is constitutional. So I just got the inspiration. Several years ago, as I think somebody said earlier in the convention, Ray Umiger, who's not here this morning, stood on a street corner with a sign that said, "I am not at war." I don't know when it was, and I don't know what war it was. They all kind of merged together, but he stood on the street corner with that sign and it became a motto. My brother Lee Wrights ran for the presidential nomination with that as a slogan. He lost to Gary Johnson, but that worked out pretty good too. And that's where these buttons came from. I just, sitting on my computer and, all the brain stuff. So this is the genesis of this regulation. So just to be clear, there are, I think it's 12 or 13 states that have somewhere in the their process, a legislator has introduced a bill to change state laws, which basically says what's in this resolution. I think last week, the state of Idaho, their legislature just passed a resolution saying essentially this. So this particular document is based on the bill that was proposed, I think, in Virginia. There's a model bill on there. It's defendtheguard.org. There's a model bill on their website. This bill it deals only with the federal government calling the Guard onto active duty. And what they do now is, back in 1903, we all know what the militia is, right? Militia is every able-bodied, pardon the expression, male over a certain age. That's the militia as defined in U.S. statute and in the Constitution. Well, in 1903, the Congress established the various state National Guards that were in existence as the militia. And so that's what they used to call the militia into active duty. But unfortunately, as we all know, the Congress has a tendency to kind of assume duties and responsibilities it doesn't have. It states that in that reference clause that the Guard, the militia, should only be called active duty to execute the laws of the Union, to suppress insurrections, and to repel invasions. I don't think that anybody in Vietnam attempted to invade the United States. I don't think anybody in Afghanistan, that's a questionable one, certainly not Iraq, and certainly nobody in Ukraine. attempted to invade the United States. But it would only, again, the resolution only deals with calling the Guard into federal service. It does not apply when the Guard is used for other state activities. A gentleman asked me yesterday about using the Guard to fill in for healthcare workers. That's a state issue. I just want to make that clear. That's it. It's time for us to call accountability to our Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, let's open this up for debate. Does anybody want to debate this? Mr. Limbaugh.
Eric Limborg, Cabarrus County. Mr. Chair, fellow delegates, I rise in strong support for this resolution. This is one of the most important issues. I think all of the Mises Caucus would say ending the foreign wars and not using our National Guard overseas is wrong. I stand in support. Let's pass this thing.
Is there anybody else that would like to debate? Anybody? All right. Seeing no one. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All opposed? For the online participants?
1 second.
No problem?
The resolution?
Yes, sir? Brad's typing in the whole resolution as we speak. I'm like, I'm kidding. Yes, Mr. Jacobson, I see your hand raised while we're waiting.
Can we have this by acclamation? I don't know what do you think there? Do I move that we adopt it by acclamation?
Okay.
I wouldn't say.
Say again? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
So, Mr. Jacobson has moved that we accept this by acclamation. No, there were no votes. There were no votes. So, yeah. Yeah, I didn't notice any no votes. Unless there was a no vote. that I missed.
5 yes, no, 0 no.
Hey, here we go.
I love you, Brad. So, yeah, that passes by acclamation. I think it was unanimous. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, everybody. Okay, next up on the list, moving right along, we have the election to fill the secretary position. With the passing of our friend Tom Howe, I went through and put out notice, and we had some folks that had applied for the open secretary position to help fill in until this, at least until this convention. Ryan Brown, who was one of the applicants, we interviewed a few people. And Ryan, who we ended up electing to at least finish out until convention until. Obviously, elections aren't until, the regular elections aren't until next year. But we need to, we're gonna need to fill this role now until next year, as per our bylaws. So do we have any nominations for secretary? Yes, Mr. Reed. Mr. Deal.
Reed Deal, Davidson County. I rise to the occasion and the honor of nominating Ryan Brown, continue his services that he was elected to by the EC with Tom's passing.
Second.
Sorry. That's fine. I enjoy your enthusiasm, Brad. But just a little bit of information. Brian came on and Brian. I've got Brian's on the brain. Ryan came in, having been an activist and having been involved in laborious duties with the LPNC and other than appointed slots and things like that. He's been very much the activist and everything prior to his applying for secretary. He has since, excuse the expression, but he has done a bang-up job since he's been there, and therefore I support him in his run for LPNC secretary.
Thank you, Reed. Reed, well, I'm sorry, Brian Irving.
I'm gonna give us,
Oh,
I'm gonna give a seconding speech.
you beat me to it, but okay.
Ryan is also running for state senate, District 18, which includes part of Wake County. He's part of the Wake Up Liberty team, even though he lives in Granville. So, yes, I heartily endorse. I've been harassing him since he became secretary, and he's outstanding. And not only that, but he took on the platform committee role too, which is another exciting endeavor. So, vote for Ryan. Not Brian, Ryan!
Thank you, Mr. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Irving. Are there any nominations for the position of secretary? Very good. I guess we'll just move to a vote. There we go. All those in favor of Ryan Brown continuing the role of secretary, at least until next year's elections, please raise your hands. Yes. Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Just waiting for the online folks.
Coming in.
Just want to be fair to everybody. Oh, yes, Mrs. Howe. Yes, okay. Yes. Does anybody want to vote for Noda while we're waiting for Brad? I know, no, you're correct. You're right. No, you're absolutely right.
We have 6 yes, 0 no.
Okay. That was pretty unanimous. Ryan, congratulations. I just want to take a quick second to say that, you know, since Ryan's gotten involved, he was on the platform committee, he was on the convention committee, he runs the NC Mises Caucus Twitter account and does a great job. He's worked with Sean Haw a lot, and I know Sean loves talking to him about messaging and strategy and stuff like that. And he jumped into secretary. Now he's running for office, and you know he's been a model libertarian. Thank you, and thank you for everything that you're doing. He's done a fantastic job so far here, and I'm sure it's going to continue throughout the day. So congratulations, Ryan. All right, now we're up to the next slot here, which is election of the Judicial Committee. Okay, give me a second. You want to clear the screen, Ryan? We can start putting names up on there. Oh yeah. Can the current committee members please stand? That's it. Who are we missing? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Oh, right. And John, right? Yeah, you're on the. I thought you were on the.
I was.
Oh, you were.
I'm not currently.
Oh, are we missing anybody else? I'm trying to remember. So it's Alex and Eric.
That's how busy we are. We don't know who's on the
And who?
Brian, Tom Bailey is our. This is how often the judicial committee.
I can see his face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Tim Harris is also on the Judicial Committee.
There are times.
He just
Running for mayor.
Yeah. So, we'll open the floor up for nominations. Mr. Pinkowski. Yeah, yes, sir. We have, what is it, five positions, right, total? Yeah, 5, yes, 5 positions.
Test. I'd like to nominate Brian Irving to the Judicial Committee.
This is a second. Janet Garcia seconded.
A point of information.
Yes, sir.
Do nominations require a second?
Oh, actually, all right, I'm sorry, I apologize, thank you.
I don't require a second, but you can make a speech if you want to.
Yeah,
Normally, we go through nominations, then speeches, right?
Yeah.
yeah, we
See if
don't,
we even get 5.
yeah. Mr. Limborg,
Eric Limborg, Cabarrus County. I'd like to nominate J.C. Richard.
J.C. Richard? Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jacobson, you're next to the mic. You don't have to run, I was just recognizing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bill Jacobson of Wake County. Tom Bailey is not here today. I'm not sure exactly why, but he asked me to make sure he has given me permission to nominate him.
Okay, so Tom Bailey, thank you. Mr. Ross.
Mike Ross, Gaston. I'd like to nominate Stephen Sumner.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir, you're recognized.
Chris Mizell, Wake County. I'd like to nominate Ken Pinkowski.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hogarth. We can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I have not reviewed the bylaws recently. Is there a seasoning requirement for this position?
Mr. Irving, can you check that real quick?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, there is. They have
So
to
wait,
be.
hold on, wait, one second. The question from the back of the room from Ms. Hogarth was, is there a seasoning requirement for the JC?
Yes, there is. You have to have been a member of the LPNC for 1 year.
Okay. Then each nominee confirm that that was it.
I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that once the nominees are complete, that somebody check their credentials to make sure they're qualified.
Yes. Brad, are you able to do that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You have to be a member of the LPNC for 1 year in order to be on the JC, Judicial Committee. We need somebody to check as people are nominated. And I would suggest that if you have somebody in mind to nominate, you certify to that yourself. I shouldn't be speaking because I'm.
So, yeah, well, so we have Mr. Irving, Mr. Pinkowski, and Mr. Bailey, who are all confirmed to have been with the LPNC for at least a year, if not way longer.
Sumner looks good, I don't know about Richards.
Right, so if we could just confirm J.C. Richards' status before we go on with that. Mr. Well, oh, actually, no, hold on a second. Mr. Har, you have the mic first, then Mr. Deal.
I am willing to serve on the Judicial Committee, so I will nominate myself. However, I will withdraw if it is determined that Mr. Richards is indeed eligible.
It's actually Miss Richards.
Oh, it's Miss Richards. Okay.
No, you weren't expected to know that.
Is Miss Richards in the room?
I'm right here.
Oh.
I'm right here.
Oh, very good.
Take my word for it.
Oh.
Vote for Ron Paul.
I really feel it's unfair to do that to somebody that doesn't know those other people.
We're good.
All right, we're all good? Okay. Yay. Okay, so we have a slate of 5 people. Sean, would you like to
I
keep?
withdraw.
You withdraw?
I'm
Okay.
I'm always up for it if you need it.
I know, thank you. All right. So these are the current 5 nominees. Whoop. Yes. 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 Okay, yeah, thank you. All right. Are there any other nominations?
Can we hold up just for a second? The online feed is seeing the agenda instead of the list. So
Oh, okay, no problem. Yes, sir. Mr. Ulmer.
Dave Ulmer, Wake County. I move when we do this vote, we just do it in mass for all 5 and not go through each name individually. Those are the 5 on the slate.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ryan Brown, seconded.
we're good.
All right, we're good? Okay. So, all those in favor of voting for these 5 candidates as a slate, essentially, please raise your hands. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, Mr. Irving, did you have a question?
I I reluctantly have to withdraw my name for personal reasons.
Okay. All right.
Sean, you're up.
Sean, you're up. But Brian had to withdraw his name.
I'd like to nominate Sean.
Mr. Needham has nominated Sean Haw, and Mr. Haw has accepted. Thank you, Mr. Haw. Do we need to, we don't need to do that motion again, do we? Right?
That was the motion, doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, yeah, it doesn't matter, okay? So, let's start this over again. All those in favor of voting for this slate of candidates, please raise your hand. Thank you. All opposed? One. We're just waiting for the online totals to come in, just to be fair to the online participants.
Yes, 8, 0, no.
And that passes, thank you. This is your new JC. Congratulations. Wow, we're moving really quick. Oh, yes, Mr. Hall. Grab a mic. Thank you, sir.
Sean Hoff from Durham County, thank you very much. I appreciate it. If the other 4 members of the Judicial Committee now could, once we close business, just get together in here and meet briefly. We have a couple of duties that we have to take care of immediately. And just to make sure that we have our contact information and everything. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Okay, next up on the docket is the election of delegates to the Libertarian National Convention. I have to get confirmation of this, but last I looked, I believe we had 31 names on the list.
How many slots?
For 27. 31 names for 27 slots. What I'm going to do here is there anybody that's interested in just being an alternate rather than a delegate?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we ruling that they're writing their name down with a self-nomination?
No, we have to have nomination. Yeah, right. So we're going to call for nominations. Mr. Jacobson. You would like to be an alternate? Okay. Wait, one second. Wait, hold on. 1 second. Yes, Mr. Hessel.
Point of information, so anyone who has their name on the list needs to also be nominated, or? Okay,
Yes.
I'm just trying to clarify, so.
Yes. So we just need to keep track of that. Although we do have the list across the hall, we still have to call for nominations. Yes, no, yeah. Ms. Hogarth, you had something?
Oh, I just was asking for confirmation of the nomination.
Oh, yeah, so it's 27 delegate spots, and across the hall, we have 31 names, but we still have to call for nomination. Okay?
Who was the first nomination? I'm sorry.
No, there was nobody first nominated yet. We don't have anybody nominated
Phil
as of
wants
yet.
to be an alternate.
But Phil stated that he would like to be considered as an alternate rather than a full delegate. We're going to have to come up here and do this, Mr. Watercott. I can't be taking hands from all across the room. So, hold on 1 second. We have, Mr. Underwood's going to get set up, or Mr. Brown is going to get set up to write the names down.
Yes.
How are we doing this?
We can use spreadsheet real very quick, and then I'll write them down.
Thank you. We just, Mr. Brown needs a moment to get set up, and then we'll get started. So even if your name was put on the list across the hall, you still need to be nominated.
I'd like to put you at the front of the line.
You have the list already. There's no reason to have it.
Give Sean the list.
All right. Joe, he's gonna write their names with their nominated.
So, yes, Ms. Hogarth.
May I make a request? When people are nominated, will they indicate
Just renominate.
Am I allowed to do that?
Yes, if you want, I can do it.
Well, that really is not going to, that's not going to matter on whether or not at this time. That's what we have alternates for. If they can't make it, they can't make it. Ryan, you ready to go?
As fast as my fingers can go.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hall, we're ready. You're first at the mic.
Thank you. I originally came up to the mic so I would have the honor of making...
All right, everybody, wait, hold on one second, Sean. Can we have everybody's attention? We have a speaker at the mic that's been recognized. Thank you.
I came up here originally because I wanted to have the honor to make the first nominate, please. I made the honor of nominating Pamela Adams, also known as Miss Sweetie. And I wanted to let you know that we have already made our reservations and bought our registrations for the National Convention. When I was standing up here, I was requested to place the entire sheet into nomination, which I will do now if that's acceptable to the body.
Please.
So I would like to
Reading the room, yes.
I would like to read off the names on this sign-up sheet and nominate all of them.
Okay, just give Ryan a moment to type them in so people can see them up on the screen. Oh, you have it already. Okay.
This is the list that...
Okay, so we could just read the name. Could we just read the names
You
off?
can read the name, then we can verify they're on this
Yes.
list. And
Thank you, Sean. If you could just read them off and Ryan will confirm them.
Very good. Very good. I would like to nominate Dee Watson. Is she already on there?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't look at both of these at the same time. I hope I pronounced his last name correctly. Bob Durr?
Yes.
Is it Durr? Okay.
You don't have, just so you know, Sean, you don't have to look at the screen. Ryan will take care of that. He'll
Right.
confirm for you.
Rebecca Aaron L. Thompson?
Yes.
And please correct me if I mispronounce anybody's names. Nick Taylor?
Yes.
Andrew Johnson?
Yes.
Barbara Howe?
Yes.
Tracy Monty?
Yes.
Robert Browder?
Robert Browder, yes.
Travis Rittenauer?
Yes.
Sean Acton?
Yes.
Yes.
Mike Ross?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Brandy Ross?
Yes.
Myself, Sean Hall.
I believe you are.
I've already nominated Pam
Yes,
Adams.
you are, sir.
Pam Adams is I've already nominated.
Yes, sir.
Gabriel Wozniak,
Yes.
Ace Fogerson,
Yes.
Eric Lindborg,
Yes.
Yes.
Ron Morris.
Yes.
Oh. Ken. One of these letters is a glyph. SCHLEGL.
Kenny Schlegel.
Schlegel.
He's on there.
Oh, it's two letters, not one. That's why.
I got you.
EL, not a backwards B.
Got it.
Mikal Pinaflor.
Yes.
I hope I pronounced that correctly. Ryan Brown.
Yes.
Yep.
Angela Humphreys.
Yes.
Charles Llanahan.
Yes.
Brad Hessel.
Who's that? Yeah, he's on there.
Yes.
Nestor Castro.
Yes.
Susan Hogarth.
Yes, she's on there. I saw her.
Yes.
Yes.
Kenneth Pinkowski.
Yes.
Jeff Scott.
Yes.
Yes.
Eric Raudsep.
Yes.
Yes.
David Smith.
Yes.
Yes.
Stephen J. DeFiore the second.
Yes.
Oh, really?
That is the list of 31 that I was handed. I would like to add one more name, if I may.
John can add it, yes.
Alex Raudsep. Oh, they are the same person. That's very interesting.
Very mysterious.
We're like really, really close. We double date all the time. They live like 2 miles away from me, and I know his last name is Smith. I never knew that was Dave. I just thought it was somebody trying to like cash in on somebody else's more famous name. Oh,
All right.
okay.
Do we have any other nominations?
Thank you. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have 31 people on the spreadsheet, and they match the names
Yes.
Donovan
Okay.
has just read.
Are there any other nominations?
Point of information,
Yes, Mr. Hessel.
Phil Jacobson's requested to be an alternate. Does he need to be on this list to be?
Yes, he still does.
So we need to add him, that would be 32.
Okay. Wait, hold on, wait, 1 second, Mr. Browdy, hold on. Mr. Irving was recognized first, and Mr. Browdy.
Something, because I know we're being a pain in the ass, but
Grab a mic. Wait, grab a mic.
the bylaws require us to rank people in order. And the first 27 people with the most number of votes get to be delegates, the remainder get to be alternates. So if somebody has expressed a desire, I know Brad's going to contradict me.
Wait, 1 second.
No, I don't mean to contradict. I just want to clarify, when we say rank, that you don't need to rank. You need to vote for up to 27 people, correct? And then we'll count them, and that's where the ranking comes in. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, I guess.
That is correct.
Okay.
Hold on, Mr. Ross? Yes, sir.
Is it too late to nominate someone? I thought they'd signed up, but they told me they wanted to go to Reno, so I wanted to add one more person.
You could, I called for a nomination, so I didn't close it out.
I'd like to nominate Phil DeWard.
All right, just spell your name. You have it, right?
Yes.
Do you have Phil's name on the spreadsheet before we go any further, so everybody can see it?
How do you spell John, you can do it.
How do you spell the last name?
Taborek.
Taborek, correct?
Yeah.
Do I got it? Yes.
Is that correct up there?
Yes.
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations? Wait, hold on. Yes, grab a mic, please. State your name and county.
Nate Seedorf Gaston. If somebody's elected as a delegate, but they would prefer to be an alternate, can they step down to that alternate position?
What's going to happen is this: we have the names on the list. Everybody will vote for the 27 people that they wish to be delegates, and then what will happen is if you happen to be selected as a delegate, but would prefer to be an alternate, you can let us know post-election. And oh no, oh okay.
As I tried to explain, the bylaws, which can't be suspended or changed, require us to vote for, to vote for delegates. The people with the highest number of votes equal to the number of delegates we get, which is 27. So the 27 people on this list with the highest number of votes will be delegates. The remainder will be alternates, ranked in their order, in order of the number of votes they got. And when we have to if we have to replace a delegate, those alternates will be elevated to delegate status in that order. So,
is that clear to everybody?
There are strategies one can use in order to assure that the 27 people who say they want to be delegates can be elected. But I can't say that officially.
Okay, wait, hold on 1 second. Ms. Hogarth is being recognized from the back. She's had her hand up for a while.
Thank you. I think I can yell. I just want to say this because I've been asked this like at least five times, maybe more this weekend. I am a member of the National Committee, but I do not have a seat. I do not have a delegate seat as a member of the National Committee. I do not have a delegate seat as the chair of the Credentials Committee. I need the people in North Carolina to send me as a delegate, and I would prefer as a delegate of North Carolina. I do not get an automatic seat. I've been asked that multiple times. That's the only reason I'm clarifying.
But here's the thing. Here's the list. Vote for the 27 people that you want to go to Reno. However that list shakes out at the end, the first 27 who get the most votes will be the delegates. Whoever follows after that first 27 will be the alternates. If for some reason, if your name is on this list and you can't attend Reno or whatever, then an alternate will then be the next one to take that, the next alternate or the first alternate and then following will be the one to take that position. Mr. Ross. Can I have order in the room, please? Mr. Ross.
So if I understand correctly, if someone wants to only be an alternate, they do need their name nominated there, right? In that case, I'd like to nominate Mr. Thomas Watercott. And can we put preferences for alternate? No. Okay.
No. So if it turns out that Mr. Watercott can't go, then he's off the list, and then the next alternate, the next available alternate fills that position. That's how that works. Mr. Hall.
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
About the process. My understanding, I'm sorry, Sean Hall from Durham County. My understanding that this is approval voting?
No, it's
no.
right.
Can you vote for more than 27? You're only limited to 27 votes.
Correct.
Okay.
Just like you would be on a paper ballot.
Oh, okay. And gosh, I had another question. I forgot what it was. But I did also have another point, which is, don't worry. Oh, I remember my other question now. I presume that anyone who gets at least one vote will be on the list. It's simply ordered in terms of who received the most votes. But if somebody gets one vote, let's say, then they'll be an alternate. Is that correct?
Oh, sorry, wait 1 second.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes, that is correct. Mr. Irving, you had something you wanted to clarify?
Read the rule.
Oh.
Which we debate every year. I don't think we need to read the rule.
If it would be enlightening to the delegates, go right ahead.
Okay, Mr. Irving, read it quickly so everybody understands.
I seem to remember we had the same debate last year. For voting, you get to vote for one vote per candidate for any number of candidates.
Yes.
Any number of candidates.
More than 27? Yes.
No.
No.
Well,
it's only 27.
There's 31 candidates.
No.
31 votes.
Then 27 votes.
No, it's 27 votes, Brian.
It says number of candidates.
We have 31 candidates.
I think 32 now.
Well, we have, hold on. We have 34 people.
34.
But we can only do 27. That's how many slots we have.
Delegate slots, but you also have 27 alternate slots.
So in other words, are you saying you can vote for up to 54? Theoretically, if
One vote, I'm reading what the rule says. The rule
Okay,
says one
okay,
vote
okay.
for any number of candidates. So you can, if there's 32 candidates, you can cast 32 votes. Remember,
Right.
if there are 32, the rule says one vote for any number of candidates.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I got it.
The way I read that, as the unofficial, unanointed parliamentarian, and I hate that word, is if there are 32 candidates, you get 32 votes. We technically have 54 people that we can send to Reno as official North Carolina delegates and alternates. And Sweetie is shaking her head because it confused me too last year. So if you want only a certain number of people, what I'm saying is, off the record, don't use all your votes. And the people with the most votes get to go to Reno as delegates, the rest go as alternates. Everybody goes to Reno.
There's a simple solution to choosing an alternate, all right? If you want to be an alternate, please let everyone know you want to be an alternate. Do not vote for them. The person shall vote for themselves. We will not use 54 seats. There are not 54 unique names. So that one vote will make you an alternate. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another question.
Yes, Mr. Hall.
Is there any process to add names to the list after this convention?
No.
No.
None.
Once this is voted on, that's it. Once the nominations are closed and the vote's taken, that's it.
Okay. In the past, we have had at this point a list from the National Party of people who have already registered for the National Convention.
It doesn't matter. They're not here and they haven't been nominated. They're not on the list.
Well, I wish to nominate them if I knew who they were.
That's the problem.
Okay.
Right, we're doing it here as per our rules.
And then just the one last thing I wanted to say is don't worry if you end up being an alternate, because you'll get work. There will be plenty of opportunity. I've been to several national conventions. Besides the fact that not everybody might make it, there will be times when there are people off the floor or have to leave early, whatever. So don't worry if you end up being an alternate today. You're certainly going to have an opportunity to get a lot of work on the floor in Reno.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Jacobson.
Once again, I want to run against myself. Do not vote for Phil Jacobson. I will vote for me. That's all the votes I need, apparently.
I would vote for you, but I don't want. I feel like
Here you go. Here you go.
Ms. Howard, did you have anything? Oh, no, okay, you just standing, okay. So, one last call. Are there any other nominations? Yes, Mr. Grew.
Nota is on the list.
There you go. Wait, hold on 1 second. Mr. Watercott, he raised his hand and he's coming on up. Just make sure you grab a mic.
Again, I'm asking only to be an alternate, so I'll vote for myself if everybody would refrain from voting for me. That way I'll be as an alternate. I'm just not sure if I can get that weekend off and whether I can get the booking set up. So I just want to be an alternate just in case I can get there.
Thank you, Mr. Watercott. Ms. Hogarth?
Can you clarify to people what voting for NOTA means? How that cancels everything else they voted for?
Right, so if you vote for NOTA on your ballot, wait, what do you mean? Wait, no.
You're voting for nobody.
If you vote for NOTA, then, and NOTA gets, is one of the top 27 slots, then we'll send NOTA to Reno. That'll be one delegate position that will not be filled.
Except Nota won't show up.
Ms. Howe?
The point of information we want to say, if
Wait, hold on.
If I vote for 20 people and then number 21 is NOTA, that means all the 20 people I voted for don't count on my ballot.
Not in this case.
I think you're incorrect. I'm not going to argue.
No, what happens is...
I'm not Tom.
No, what happens is NOTA will be... Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to try to make this simple. So if you vote for NOTA, and if a bunch of people vote for NOTA, and it turns out that NOTA is one of the top 27 vote getters, that means that we will only have 26 delegates as for Reno, in that initial list. Yes, Mr. Underwood.
However, NOTA will not actually show up to Reno.
Right.
So
then an alternate would fill in. Right.
Promoted.
So basically, you're just throwing away. You're taking somebody off the list. Well, you're not really taking anybody off the list.
We're taking one person away from Royce and 26 instead of 27.
It really, actually, it doesn't have an impact the way that Mr. Underwood described it. So don't waste your time, honestly. Anyway, are there any other nominations before we carry forward? All right, hearing none, we're going to close nominations. Mr. Hessel, do you need to explain anything to the room prior to folks voting?
Good.
Like so they should expect an email to the email address that was provided,
Right.
and that they should respond to said email by selecting their choices. And for anybody that does not have a device to access an email that they do have access to, please come up and see Mr. Hessel and Mr. Underwood,
We'll let
and they'll help you out. And if anybody here does not have an actual email address, in this day and age, if they don't have an email address, we can provide a proxy email address for you to vote with. Does anybody not, wait 1 second, huh?
Just let them see me.
Okay,
Take care of 'em.
so if anybody has any questions about this, does anybody have any questions? Yes, I have 2 folks in the back. Yes.
That's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't really take that long, yeah. Yeah, let's put a hard stop on this at, the email's gonna go out, it shouldn't take that long, 5 minutes. Well, we'll make it 10.
Yeah, 10, yeah.
10 minutes. It shouldn't take that long. It's going out by email. It's going to be counted by Open Vote. It'll be ranked, so it's not like it has to be a hand count. So, yes, you had a question, sir? Wait, could you come up and grab a mic so everybody can hear you?
I had to change my email yesterday. Will we be sending out another test vote?
No, we're not testing it. So,
Okay.
if you can, please see Mr. Hessel up here in the front so he makes sure that he has the correct email for you. So that we make sure that you got the email. So come up
Great.
now and check with him now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brad, did the email go out yet, or?
No, we're just.
No, yeah, okay. So as soon as Mr. Hessel lets me know, I'll let everybody know, and we can commence with voting.
We're just waiting to see if anybody has a problem.
Okay. We're just taking a moment to see if there's any issues.
Somebody else decided they weren't gonna get their steps in today, so now we're just doing whatever we want. Again, every authoritative dictator sorted out.
Joe, we're sending it.
Okay.
Start your 10 minutes.
Okay, we're starting 10 minutes now. The email just went out. Please check your emails. Again, if you need a device to check an email because you don't have one to check it, please come see Mr. Hessel. And if you didn't make your way up to the front, you needed a proxy email address, Mr. Hessel could provide that also. Yes, Mr. Hessel.
Phil, I got you, bro.
Joe, is that an appropriate for you right there?
So I got the test yesterday, but I didn't.
Yes, thank you.
Just did.
If for any reason you're not seeing the email in your inbox, check your junk or your spam folders for some reason.
Or your all mail.
Ms. O'Donnell.
It says pick up to 34, but we're only picking 27, right? Or it doesn't matter?
No, you pick up the 34.
No, you can pick up to 34.
Because of alternates.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
It's okay, no problem.
Good question.
Brad, I did not get an email.
Well, be patient. It takes us a minute.
Yes, sir. Wait, Mr. Hose, you gotta come up and grab a mic. Wait. You're not recognized. Hold on 1 second. You need a microphone. Nobody can hear you.
I believe it should be spelled B-R-A-N-D-Y, Ross, Brandy Ross, not Brady Ross. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah. Sounds like a typo. Ryan will fix that. Well,
Where's the typo? I'm sorry.
it's for some reason it was Brady, listed as Brady Ross. It's supposed to be Brandy Ross.
I didn't know get refreshing. It's not my spam, it's not, and I got the test yesterday, I don't.
What's your email? Hold on, come here.
Well, we're the ones that yesterday, weren't you?
Joe, did you get one yet?
Yeah, I got it. Finally got it.
Bad signal.
What's your first, Ace, Ferguson at PM?
Yeah, what's your first name?
Ace.
I don't have it. I know, I'm looking for your name. What's your first? I think I'm sorry, you did not get that. I wasn't up to you back down. I apologize.
How about you, Ace? He's
It was our problem.
Can we get a few more minutes? Some
Yeah,
people are
I think
just,
we'll
you know,
extend the time here.
We need to extend the
Well,
time.
well, let's let the count, let's let the timer get down, and then if we need more extra time, we'll see how it goes.
Got it.
Yeah, I got her message too.
Yeah, we're good. I thank you for
Right, yeah, exactly, no, that's right, that's right.
Is that right? You did it?
You know what, Bob? You might want to wait because a lot of people left. So we'll wait till the room comes back and then absolutely, I'll wait for that to happen.
Okay, can you check in, Lane?
It was after 9 o'clock, yes.
Okay, so.
I checked in.
No, that's fine. I mean,
Okay, so it didn't show you, that's.
not yet. I'll add you as soon as I find you. Dan? Okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just going to add you. I just need your email. Is that look correct? Have you sent it out?
Angela Humphreys is still not yet, her email is there. You got yours?
Should have been, should have. Yeah, there it is. Check it all out.
Angela Humphreys still has not got hers. It's Zach Girl 2002.
Who is this? Angela Humphreys. Let me do one thing at a time. No worries.
Zach Girl 2002.
Okay, she had not checked in when I had compiled the list. Oh, that's because she never checked, she never came in as a delegate. She's watching on the YouTube. But she is delegate. She was good. Yes. He didn't get it. James, you say? Yes. Okay, I will, he did not get the email. I will add it right now. I'm sure like I can do things like that. I can fix things.
Yeah, Angela got hers.
Okay. I just, let me check. Check your own.
I will do that.
Okay. Who are you? Oh, Earl, yes, I'm sorry. No, you should be Earl. I'm gonna add you. Fine. Yeah, that was one. Okay, you should do it.
Yeah, I was thinking, I think D brought it in, maybe you should. Yeah, one person reads it. But if you're trying to maneuver certain sets, skip votes on the ones who want to be alternate or
Do we need to?
Only 3 people left to vote.
Who are they? Is there anybody in the room?
Rebecca Durr.
Rebecca Durr still needs to vote. Can everybody's attention for a second? D, you might be interested in this. Rebecca Durr did not vote.
Rebecca Durr went back to her room because she doesn't feel well.
Okay.
Okay. Ray.
Ray
Ubinger.
Ubinger is not here in the room,
Oh,
but
okay.
but Ray has not voted. And who else are we missing?
It is, sorry, give me a second.
So wait, D, is Rebecca did she want to vote? Because I'll extend for a couple of minutes if you want to. Okay, no problem. I want to be fair and give her a chance if she was able to or wanted to. That's all. And I'm sorry, John. Who else was it? Who's the last? Gotcha. Okay.
Angela Humphreys.
Angela Humphreys, is Angela in the room? Oh, she's online? I'll extend this for another couple of minutes. Please notify Angela. Thank you very much. Oh, she just did? Okay. We are good.
Hold on, let me stop the voting.
Short, 1 second. John Underwood's gonna stop the voting and we'll have the total.
Another 5 minutes.
Another 5 minutes? Okay, 5 more minutes.
Maybe less, maybe less.
How about this? I'm going to call a 5-minute break if you want to go get a coffee or something. Oh, actually, before you leave, I'm sorry, I forgot, Barbara. I apologize. Mrs. Howe had an announcement to make real quick, and then you guys can go grab a quick break.
Oh, crap, I forgot my phone. Let me get my phone. Never mind, because I can't remember the number. Hang on a second. Don't leave.
Also, I just want to remind everybody that checkout is at 11 if you haven't checked out already. Okay. We do have a speaker coming up at 10:30.
Those of you who missed the wonderful auction we had with auctioneer
Hey guys, can we
Eric
have
Smith.
attention to the room, please? Thank you.
The wonderful auction we had last night with Eric Smith, he's always entertaining. And I want you to know that we had an income of...
Wait, Barbara, hold on. Hi, can we have order in the room for a minute, please? We have a speaker at the podium that's been recognized. Thank you.
Where's your gavel?
I don't need one, I have my voice. Go ahead, Barbara, thank you.
Okay. I think this number's correct. Because I did it last night and then my battery died. But we had an income of $5,637.50.
Yeah.
Now, I know some of you weren't at the auction last night, and if y'all want to get that number up to 6,000, I have donation cards and envelopes right here. So, raise your hand.
Okay, please take a break. Please be back here at 10:20. Or, you know what, let's make it 10:25. That'll give us 5 minutes for the results of the election, to announce all that. And then we have a speaker coming up at 10:30. Okay, so if you need to go check out, go take care of that. If you need to go use the potty, take care of that. Get yourself something to drink. If you want to make a donation,
If you'd like to volunteer,
please do. If you're interested in volunteering and you haven't put your name on the list across the hall, please do. If you're interested in being on the convention committee for next year, please put your name on the list. That would be awesome.
Brad, what's the security key? It says conference security.
Well, that's different from meeting on the.
Oh, wait.
No.
Oh, I see. I got you.
I'm introducing you. Do you want me to just read?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Although now it's 27 instead of 22.
Okay.
Looks like I'm not.
do you have, let's do it independently, how about that?
Okay, because I'm having some.
I personally love copy and paste myself, so.
Okay.
But,
So this will be on a Zoom, is that what's happening, Brad?
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
I've got the Zoom connecting.
I don't need to do a full speech, but I would like to give like region.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
See the results
Yeah, we'll-
to answer questions, and I want to ensure that people have a website where they can. I mean, that's fine too. I'll just say I'm your regional rep. The other thing is, I think from Virginia, from other things, a lot of times people don't understand the structure, so they'll say, you know, the part we have. the national committee.
How different
So,
would it be
so
if
it's
you
like
just
5 or
selected
10
all the names and
minutes,
set this
but
up like it's
the
with
other
results?
time, you know, when I push people to
The problem is I need to rank them.
You just come up with random numbers, nobody knows.
Just draw them out of a
I
hat.
didn't mind that I jumped out, I wasn't.
We know,
gonna give a
we know
speech for myself.
who got the top spots. We don't,
Oh, no, no, I
and we
get
know
it.
the numbers. I need.
So,
I get it, I get it. I was
John, if you
just
wanna come
like
over here, I'll
after
show you what I did.
more than 50%, I thought,
Okay.
I should say, well, she has an automatic, so why would I?
Okay, you're the co-host, or you were a co-host.
Okay. Right, right.
Rob, I'm out.
I was gonna say, I didn't vote for him. How much? Because I would like to give us time to talk about the budget.
Because all that has is for the.
Right, yeah, there you go. I can be.
Oh, that was it.
So I'll get up to.
Perfect.
Make motions about the agenda. Okay, and you. Oh, this is not here yet?
No, I'm sorry, no, yeah.
Well, some people don't.
download the law.
Right.
Gonna say.
Anyway, so I will make that motion for
Well, where's the smoke? So yeah, if I can do the first, I can
Yes.
What are you in right now?
So, what I did is I took the vote numbers, and then basically deleted the elected, and then pasted them back. So, that's it.
So now you have.
Yeah, so I now have, so then, I then sorted again.
So, how's it been? I think I'm
And
have fun. Good.
Control F. That's how I did it. If you know, on the second. Just kind of point to me on that. Follow your question right there. That's what I did. So then I tried to grab my right. So. So if I started 4.
Yes, sir. That was for me. If you don't want me to post it, just let me know.
No. I wanted a copy.
Oh, yeah, I'll get you. Yeah. What I'll do is grab me at some point after this. I'll throw your number on the phone and I'll see what for a picture that we would. Second thing I'll probably
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. We'll have time. We have some time.
You got everyone to vote for him?
Yeah. They can just wait. By the way.
Hi.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Thanks so much.
Lisa, can you just hold off sharing for the time being because you're dominating. We need to put you guys on.
Sorry.
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
I did, right? Okay. Should've worked on that.
You got 5 minutes.
But it does work.
But
we have the.
We have the balance verified. He double checked my process. We have a spreadsheet. They're here. So this is this I'm gonna display. We started 4.
Awesome. Great. That was easy. So imagine if you had to do this by hand. Hold on.
Free association. If they just see
Right, but I'm saying.
Yeah. So,
Oh, yeah.
So basically, this is
Well, I have a disaster coming from. In terms of what happened, so
Yes, you want to bring it over here?
Hi. And then.
A few more minutes. Take your seats, please. Yes.
Well, wait, actually, wait. I like that. You don't have that.
Yeah.
He did. He sent me a text.
Please start finding your seats.
Oh, no. No, I'm good.
Okay.
So, Ryan has to share his appropriate screen.
Yes, I will do that.
When you're ready,
If somebody could just run out to the smokers lounge in the back and let them know to head in, please.
Am I still co-hosting?
They might have lost track of time.
I lost my Zoom.
I didn't ask that, Mrs. Howe. I just said the smokers lounge. I did not denote what they may or may not be smoking.
I keep telling you.
They are free to choose what they put into their own bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. We're going to announce the vote totals. Ryan, can you please put them up on the screen?
Yes.
And just so everybody knows, right after we go through the votes here and who the delegates are, Mr. Haw asked to be recognized for a moment, and then we're going to move on. So, Ryan, can you make that a little bit bigger for folks to see?
Yes, sir.
All right.
On the left in green are the people's.
Right. So in green, on the left, are the delegates to national. If you can't see, I'll read the list off real quick. And the folks that are on the right-hand side in the uncolored cells are the alternates. So just so everybody, and can we print this out for folks so that do we have the ability to print?
We don't have a printer.
I've got a printer if you'll.
We can put this online, right?
We will print it out during this convention.
Okay.
A couple copies at least, hopefully.
Okay, well, we could post it, we could also put this, we could email it, we could post it in LPNC members if you're part of that group, and we could put it in Slack. So there would be multiple places where this will be, but I'll read through it very, very quickly. D. Watson, Mike Ross, Jeffrey Scott, Eric Rodsep, Ryan Brown, Angela Humphreys, Ace Fogerson, Mikhail Pendleflor, sorry if I butchered that, I apologize, David Smith, Travis Rittenauer, Ken Schlegel, Stephen DiFiore, Bob Durr, Eric Lindborg, Sean Haw, Rebecca Erin L. Thompson, Andrew Johnson, Barbara Howe, Brad Hessel, Robert Browder, Sean Acton, Susan Hogarth, Kenneth Pinkowski, Brady, well, we know it's Brandy Ross, there was a typo, Nick Taylor, Phil Tabarek, and Pam Adams. On the alternate list is Charles Llanahan. On the alternate list is Charles Llanahan, Tracy Monty, Gabriel Wozniak, Nestor Castro, Ron Morris, Phil Jacobson, and Thomas Watercott. Again, we will send out an email with this information to convention attendees, and, well, actually to the body. And we will also put this in LPNC members and Slack and various other places. Sean, just, hold on a second.
Look, hey, NOTA is an option now. It was not read. There are 0 NOTAs.
I was thinking there would be at least one.
Yeah.
It'd be funny, to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you. I am Sean Hall from Durham County, and thank you very much. And also on behalf of Ms. Sweetie, thank you very much for making us delegates. I appreciate that. I would like to nominate Barbara Howe to be the chair of our delegation.
Is there a second? Oh, Mr. Irving. Okay. Okay, so that could be discussed with, if the delegation meets after, as Mr. Irving has pointed out. That could be decided later, but Mr. Hall wanted to inform the body that's who he was nominating. That could be discussed by the delegation later.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes, Mrs.
have
Howe.
a motion to amend the agenda, I think, is what it should technically be. Since elections took so long, we still have an other business category. I would like to move it to immediately after our speaker, since we're at a hard stop with our speaker. But move that.
Okay, Mr. Ulmer seconded. Thank you, Mr. Ulmer. Thank you, Ms. Howe. Is there any debate or objections? So moved. Thank you, Brian. Okay, Sean, come on back up. Mr. Hall's going to introduce our next speaker.
Read off my phone again.
Let me get my stuff off.
There we go. Howdy. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Lisa Sorg, who is an award-winning environmental investigative reporter with NC Policy Watch, a nonprofit digital media outlet in Raleigh. Did you say 27?
Yes.
A journalist for 27 years, Sorg, no, leave it on. Sorg has a keen interest not only in the environment, but also the social justice impacts of pollution and corporate malfeasance. She has won dozens of awards for her news, public service, and investigative reporting, including the Henry Weathers Freedom of Information Award for her reporting on government transparency. Before arriving at NC Policy Watch, she was the editor of Indie Week in Durham. Sorg has also served as editor of the San Antonio Current in Texas, and at dailies and an alt weekly in her home state of Indiana. There, she became interested in environmental reporting when she began covering PCB contamination at Superfund sites near low-income neighborhoods in Bloomington, Indiana. She lives in Durham, where in her off hours, she spends as much time as possible outdoors. Lisa Sorg, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Hold on a second, I'm juggling a lot of things here.
You do need to hold the microphone close.
Okay.
Good. Perfect.
All right, great, thank you. Well, thanks everybody for inviting me today. I am, as Sean said, Lisa Sorg, and I work for a nonprofit digital newsroom called NC Policy Watch. We have been described as left-leaning. That's probably accurate. However, I have found that the environment is one issue that cuts across political parties. And part of that is because we all want to breathe clean air and drink clean water and not live next to toxic waste dumps. So today I'm going to talk about the importance of politics and engagement, not only at the local level, as in, I guess, Sean shared with me your political platform on pollution. And, you know, it's admirable. I mean, polluters should pay. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today, showing you the loopholes in local and state government that allow these iniquities to happen, proliferate, perpetuate, and what you need to do about it. So first of all, this is a picture of Baden Lake, and it's how to pollute for decades and get away with it. I do not recommend. The first disaster that we'll talk about is the Weaver Fertilizer. This is just up the road. This is the Weaver Fertilizer plant fire in Winston-Salem. It happened in January 31st. This was 6,000 people evacuated within a 1 mile radius when this erupted. We still don't know how the fire started. However, what ignited was ammonium nitrate. Ammonium nitrate is a fertilizer. Yeah, the Oklahoma City bombing guy, he used it to blow up the federal building.
Could you stand just this way a little bit more away from that speaker? We're getting a slight echo.
Oh, sure. Is that better?
Yeah, we're more towards the center. Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. Okay, so anyway, Weaver Fertilizer plant fire, ammonium nitrate. The local building code was grandfathered, so this was stored in a wooden building without sprinklers. And the reason that was allowed to happen is because when the building was constructed in 1939, that was the code. And it was not required to be updated. So thus, there were about 4.5 million pounds of different chemicals in this building when it ignited. Of that, 600 tons was ammonium nitrate. There was also diesel fuel. It was a bad scene. And it burned for days. In fact, I think I have. Yes, that's what it looked like on February 6th. I went over there. And Weaver Fertilizer has basically, we don't know the cause of the fire, but the zoning, there was tons of residences around this plant. It was here first. However, somebody in their wisdom decided to put a prison nearby and a lot of apartment buildings. So that's why 6,000 people were asked to evacuate. The other loophole, this was a huge air pollution problem. Ammonium nitrate and the other chemicals, it's very irritating to the lungs. So you don't want to be around this stuff. Plus there was a very high risk of explosion, and that's why they had to evacuate all those people. And they had to go live in hotels for 4 days. Okay, the next disaster that has to do with zoning. So this happened in the little town of Delco, which is in Columbus County. And what this company from Australia wanted to do was fumigate logs. This happens all the time. Basically, when they cut down trees, and to ship them to China to have furniture made, they have to get rid of the bugs that are under the bark. Well, there's a way to do that by debarking, but there's also another way to do that called log fumigation. So those shipping containers you see, they take the logs and they stick them in there, and then they gas them with something called methyl bromide. I won't get too much into the science, but basically it kills all the bugs. Unfortunately, methyl bromide is a very powerful neurotoxin. And their plan was, if any of those containers leaked, they were going to seal those leaks with duct tape and sandbags. I couldn't believe it myself. So they were going to emit 140 tons per year within a mile of a school. Well, what happened was, thank God, how this got by zoning, apparently at some point the Columbus County commissioners held a hearing about it, but unfortunately that was in Whiteville, which is way on the other side of the county. And let's face it, not a lot of people go to zoning meetings. I mean, it's pretty stultifying. I've sat through a number of them. So people didn't know. They didn't know what was at stake. And so the county said, sure, come on in. And so how this became known is the state held a public hearing. And this is one of the hearings, this man here and his daughter, who were pleading with the state, please don't let this company put a neurotoxin in the air. And this community of Delco already has several Superfund sites and hazardous waste dumps. So they're kind of, in environmental parlance, that's also known as a sacrifice zone. So what happened was, the good news is that the state, this all caused the state to have a stronger regulation about methyl bromide. You just can't put it in the air. There's more monitoring. And what happened is the Malik brothers, facing that regulation, decided not to fumigate the logs. So that was a good thing for the kids that have to go to the school and did not want to breathe a deadly neurotoxin. Speaking of property, so this guy, his name is Donovan Mclaren. He's a really great, funny guy. He lives in Wade in Cumberland County, which is just north of Fayetteville. And his land was in the path of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. For those of you who don't know what the Atlantic Coast Pipeline was, it was part of a 600 miles, I think it was 600 miles. 180 of it was going to be in North Carolina. It was going to go from West Virginia to Virginia and then into North Carolina, entering in Northampton County and exiting or terminating in Robeson County, I think it was, or Richmond County. Anyway, this company, which was Duke and Dominion, the legislature passed a law that allowed them to invoke eminent domain, even though they're not a government. And it allowed, since Dominion is based in Virginia, the law also allowed out-of-state companies to invoke eminent domain. Obviously, you folks as libertarians would have a problem with that. Anybody would have a problem with that. You don't have to be a libertarian, but I figured that would be particularly stick in your craw. So what happened was the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, some folks cut a deal and got quote unquote fair compensation, and you know that that's usually not fair. Other people fought it, and they fought it in federal court and they won, and they were able to kind of thwart Atlantic Coast Pipeline's efforts for a while. Well, lo and behold, they started digging, they started installing pipe, but the courts there were a lot of court challenges. I think one of the planks in the pollution platform was that you should have legal recourse. Well, people availed themselves of that. Donovan could not. And what happened was they started digging through his land. They declared eminent domain and said, we're gonna dig and we'll pay you later. Or they were gonna put it in escrow, I think that's what it was. Well, the Atlantic Coast Pipeline was canceled on July the 5th, I think it was, 2020. It was Independence Day weekend on a Sunday when it was announced. You know, when everybody be paying attention. This is what Donovan's land after it was carved up by the pipeline looks like. That's only part of it. He was gonna build it, right to the right of this frame is where he was gonna build a house. He had the permit. And this is what it looks like. And this is only part of it. And Atlantic Coast Pipeline is supposed to have a quote unquote restoration plan. How do you restore that? How do you make Donovan Mclaren whole? I don't think he can in his lifetime. Maybe, and as he told me, he says, maybe my grandkids, but no way. I mean, this is, and there's a river right over the other side of that. I think it's the Cape Fear, actually. So that's what it looks like now, and that's what he has to live with. That's the damage to his property. And this is not an isolated case. I've seen it. If you drive to Northampton County, there are farm fields that the pipe was just sitting on top, and they're leaving the pipe in the ground. How that also comes up is that there's another pipeline that is scheduled possibly to come through North Carolina, entering in Rockingham County and terminating in Alamance. It's called the MVP Southgate. We don't know whether that's going to happen because the MVP has been successfully legally challenged in Virginia. But this is one of the reasons that the folks who live in that pathway don't want construction to start ahead of time before the full thing is approved, because of situations like Donovan Mclaren. The Colonial pipeline disaster. This happened in Huntersville, which is just north of Charlotte. This happened on the 14th of August, 2020. And we're lucky in that some boys who were on an ATV riding through a nature preserve. I don't know if any of you ever watched the Beverly Hillbillies. When you saw like the oil, this was gasoline, but you know, Texas tea. Yes, movie stars, right. Well, that's what those kids saw. They saw this like stinky gasoline coming up out of the ground. They were like, what the hell? So they called their parents, and you know, they weren't supposed to be on the ATV, which is kind of funny. I think that's all been forgiven now. And the parents called 911, or they called somebody from Colonial, and what happened was that it's the largest onshore gasoline spills in U.S. history, at least since 1991. 1.3 million gallons. And what happened was there was not, the leak detection didn't work for some reason. There was a sleeve that failed, and we don't know how long that gasoline was leaking. As a result, Colonial has purchased 4 properties, residential properties, which actually I'm standing in the middle of showing you where those are. Here's the spill, and these are the areas that they have purchased. This right here is what people's backyard look like. I'm sorry, you probably can't see it, but it's basically machinery and air monitoring. And they've been at this for 2 years, and they still haven't gotten all of not even begun to get all the petroleum out of the ground and out of the groundwater. The groundwater is contaminated. Now the drinking water is not, because some people have been hooked up to public water and they've not found any petroleum in the wells, but the groundwater is done. And for the people who are left behind and Colonial chose not to buy their properties, how will they ever sell their property knowing that that's there? The value of their property just tanked. They are not living free of pollution. Are we happy yet? Sorry. I'm right-handed. Okay. This is the chicken, or the egg man. I love the egg man. I'm going to move over here, actually. So this is about mining. Mining is really picking up in North Carolina. That rock down there, that was at a Pleasant Garden. Pleasant Garden is in Guilford. And that was a fly rock that had been ejected from a previous mine and landed in this guy's yard. That rock's about the size of our heads, our individual heads. So you can imagine how that might do some damage. So this is the chicken man. He was going to be living near this mine. He has a little chicken farm. He is a farmer. He used to work in asphalt, so he knows exactly what the deal is with mines. This had gone to the local zoning board, and then it went to the Guilford County Commissioners, and they shot it down because of people pleading with their local officials, don't let this mine come in because it's going to ruin the groundwater, it's going to ruin his farm. We're worried about its effects, and the Guilford County Commissioners said no. That doesn't usually happen. There is a situation right now in Snow Camp, North Carolina, which is near the Randolph-Guilford megasite. It's technically in Alamance, but it's kind of in the far southwestern corner. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. Snow Camp doesn't have zoning, which is, good in some ways. The problem is this mine came in and is going to be carbon, I think it's going to be 600 feet deep, the pit, and there are people who live right by it. I was there the other day in snow camp, and they were getting ready to blast, and I'd never felt a mining blast before. This is about a quarter mile down the road, and you heard the horns, and then you felt the blast, and it actually felt like your feet, there was a wave going through your feet that goes all the way up your legs. It's really wild. It can also affect your foundation of your house, obviously. And so this mine got an approval through the county. It had got approval through the state. There was if you ever find yourself in this position, you can file something called a contested case hearing, and you can fight the state if there's a permit that's given or not given. And so some folks at Snow Camp availed themselves of their legal rights and fought it. There was a settlement that made some groundwater protections stronger. However, it's still a risk to the people's foundations. In Prospect Hill, which is in Caswell County, same deal. There's a huge mine going in there. There was no zoning in Prospect Hill, and so these mines look for places like that. So while zoning can be restrictive in some ways, it also can open the floodgates for anything to go in there. And then Cherryville is in Gaston County, and that's where the Piedmont lithium mine is. And for environmental advocates, that's a real sticky issue, because lithium is used to make batteries in electric vehicles, and that reduces fossil fuel pollution. That is a driver of climate change. But like all extractive industries, it has a price. So what can the lithium folks learn from maybe their coal folks that went before them about how not to destroy the environment? So mining, big deal. The other thing that limits public participation that the local or state government did, they passed a law. It's called a life of site mining permit, which once you get a permit as a mine, it's good forever, unless you break some terrible law. But what that does is, while you can file a complaint with the state about a mine if they're doing bad things, previously every 5 years or 10 years or whatever the length the permit was, there would be an opportunity for a public hearing. And you could go to the state in a very formal way and declare your support or objections to this mine, and now that is no longer possible. These mines are now permitted for as long as they last, which is usually 50, 60 years. For those of you who like Baden Lake, which is a lovely, lovely lake, Alcoa had a huge smelting plant on the shores of, right across the street from Baden Lake. This is what it looks like now. This is only a fraction of it. It's huge. I mean, you just can't even imagine when you stand at it what's going on. The problem is they have, because of all the toxins that were used in the smelting process, they had to cap, the state or the company had to pay contractors to actually put a cap on part of the bottom of Baden Lake because there were so many PCBs, which are cancer causing. And cyanide still goes into this lake. The first slide of the day I showed you, that was near the swimming area, and there has actually been cyanide that is put in that lake with and high levels of fluoride. Which you think, oh, fluoride, I use it in my toothbrush or my toothpaste, but too much fluoride's a bad thing. So what's happened is, not only is Baden Lake polluted from Alcoa and has been for decades, there is a community right next to, I mean, it's practically in the Alcoa footprint. Alcoa built this community right next door. We call it West Baden, is where all the black workers lived. It was in the segregation time. So they put the black workers there, and everybody who was white lived in the nice part of town. And it's still almost all black. And Alcoa has a landfill that the city also contributed to, local government, right next to the neighborhood. And it's been capped, but it leaches. And these are folks from Concerned Citizens of West Baden, and they have lived with this landfill for decades. And in fact, at one time, the landfill caught fire. So you can only imagine what was the fumes that were built. So this is an ongoing problem. It's not been solved. Alcoa has dragged their feet in cleaning it up, and it's bad stuff. I mean, this isn't minor. So, I guess we'll be drinking after this, right? Hogs, poultry, and cattle. This is a topic that's near and dear to me because of the carve-outs that have been made for agriculture. So that down there in the far corner is a map of Dublin County. The blue is the floodplains. The red dots are every hog farm in Dublin County. And this was based on the latitude and longitude of a database that came from the state. So I made this map, but I didn't make it up. This is actually based on state data. So it's hard to find a place that doesn't have a hog farm in Dublin County. As you know, if you've driven on 40 at certain times of the year or day, those farms really smell. There's odor, there's buzzards, there's dead boxes, there's water issues. I mean, people like to eat bacon, I get it, but there's a real price for that is not being, it's because these lagoons, which are right here, that's just hog waste. Pee and poop and hair and whatever else. So this is an example of a lagoon that failed, and it sent tons of waste into waterways, wetlands. This happens more than you think. We only hear about the worst ones, but we're talking millions of gallons that have happened. And it doesn't even have to be a hurricane. In fact, sometimes the hurricane isn't the reason. This was just the lagoon failed. Or it gets too high, they don't pump out the waste. What they do with this waste is that the barns flush into this big cesspool, and then they pump that cesspool stuff onto their farm fields. And the issue with that is that then that gets in the groundwater, and it can actually then get into surface water. So that's the main crux of people wanting to phase out these lagoon systems and the spray field systems, because people live very close to them, and most of the people who live close to these hog farms are people of color or low income. The issue is, one of the planks in your pollution platform was you should be able to avail yourself of legal recourse. I think that's absolutely true. Unfortunately, the state legislature has passed a series of laws that make it almost impossible to sue agriculture for nuisance. You basically can't do it anymore. And the reason that happened is that there were people who sued in federal court and won. And Smithfield is on the hook for millions of dollars. And as soon as those verdicts were coming down, the state legislature stepped in and passed these laws that it's impossible, basically. I mean, the criteria are so narrow that you can't really sue anymore for nuisance. Poultry, we don't even know where all the poultry farms are. The agriculture department knows, but we don't know because it's not public record. And there are millions and millions of birds raised in North Carolina. We don't have the right to know. Nor do you have the right to know, for example, if you are a poultry farmer and you want to get a USDA loan, our tax dollar money, to build your farm, your name is secret. I can't know who you are. Now, if you go to the Register of Deeds in Durham County and you want to see how much I paid for my house and how much all that, you can go on and see my whole financial history right there. Not if you're a poultry farmer. And, I didn't take your tax dollars to buy my house. This is USDA money. And I just recently asked for some information about a possible poultry farm in Montgomery County, and I knew they were going to redact it. It was 13 pages long of loan documents, 11 were redacted. Yeah. I mean, it was pointless, but it was, So I have a real issue with that lack of transparency when it comes to USDA loans in particular, because you and I don't get that. Our stuff isn't secret. Theirs is. is in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It's right across from Camp Lejeune. I don't know if you have any veterans here, but this is a Superfund. I don't know if you know what Superfund is. I love this. It says, "You matter to us. Stay out. Poison." So, Superfund is a federal program for some of the most toxic places in the United States. And what happens is, if you are a company and you have polluted, but let's say you decide to declare bankruptcy because suddenly you have no money, facing enormous costs, or you can't be found, you've gone on the lam, then these properties enter something called Superfund. And the federal government then is responsible for cleaning them up. Or sometimes if they're called potentially responsible parties, there might be a little bit of money that comes out of them. However, most of the time it's the feds. The problem is there are 39 of these across North Carolina, and this is like megatoxins. This particular was a former dry cleaners, and their solvents went into the groundwater and then went into the drinking water at Camp Lejeune, and they had to shut down some wells. The problem is that I think there was a corporate polluter tax. Basically, if you were industry and you made or used polluting chemicals, you were taxed, and that's what paid for Superfund. Congress repealed that. I think it was in 95, don't quote me on that, but it was in the 90s. And now you and I pay for it. Our tax dollars pay for other people's waywardness instead of the corporations that do the polluting or provide the chemicals that pollute. So Superfund is, if you live near a Superfund site, your property is worth zero. Speaking of the federal government and zero, oops, sorry, I skipped one, I'm almost done. This is the former Tar Heel Army missile plant in Burlington, North Carolina. Who knew? This is where they used to make missiles in the Cold War. Maybe we need them again. I'm kidding. I'm really kidding for all those who are recording this. Jesus, I'm kidding. So this plant, operated during the Cold War, made missiles, part of the Nike's, not tennis shoes, but Nike missile system. And it is 22 acres, right off of Church Street, right behind the Western Steakhouse. If you've ever been to Western Steakhouse, I see someone nodding. You look behind there and you're like, what the hell is that? That is the former Tar Heel Army missile plant. It is highly polluted. The Army is responsible for cleaning it up. The Army has not cleaned it up in 30 years. It is, I think, a dozen buildings, underground tunnels. I talked to a guy in his 90s who used to work there, and he was like, yeah, we had tunnels in case we got bombed. I mean, they could have lived down there. There could still be people living down there, except that it's flooded and it's full of poison. But what's happening is, this guy this is David Spruill. His back door is 30 feet from the plant. This is what it looks like. So this is the plant. This is where David Spruill lives, about here, and this is the path of the contamination right off into the neighborhood. It enters a stream. It enters the groundwater. It could be actually causing hazardous vapors in people's houses. The Army has done nothing of any significance in 30 years. I mean, everything they've done has failed. There is a private property owner too of this. They're responsible for all the contamination, like asbestos, which is above the ground, and the Army is responsible for everything below the ground. Unfortunately, the second private property owner, in his great wisdom, had a haunted house for children there. They're not from here. They're from Alabama. The new property owner, he wanted to enter it into a program to help clean it up. It's called a brownfield, and basically if you clean it up to a certain level, you can redevelop it. Well, he couldn't get enrolled in that program. It's a federal program that's administered by the state because he has a federal criminal record of defrauding the, I think it's Medicaid or Medicare. He makes orthotic shoes or sells orthotic shoes, and he was getting kickbacks and odd things. So anyway, it's a mess, and it's still going on. And and the people who live near this, I mean, I've been in that neighborhood countless times. They're all I think 30 of the 39 houses are rentals. They're practically falling apart. I mean, it's basically slumlords that own it, the property around there. And I was in one woman's house in the summer. She had a window air conditioner, but she couldn't afford to run it. It was like 100 in her house, and she was like 80-some. It's a serious environmental justice issue. There's a stream that runs right, I'll show you where the stream is. It's about right here, and that runs into the Hall River eventually. So, and this is my last slide. It's one of my favorite topics. It won't be chemistry. This is emerging compounds. What that means is they're not as well understood by scientists. One of them is called 1,4-dioxane, which has been linked to cancer. And these are PFAS. You'll hear PFAS is kind of like the shorthand. They're a certain kind of compound that are in dozens of consumer products, microwave popcorn bags, pizza boxes, if you have rain-proof jackets, Gore-Tex, it's all got PFAS. They're also known as perfluorinated compounds, but I won't bore you with the science. Anyway, the science is that they're bad for you. Exposure can cause thyroid problems, testicular cancer, kidney cancer, reproductive issues, fetal maldevelopment, depressed immune system. It's bad. Well, it's everywhere. PFAS in particular is everywhere. It's found in waterways across the state. It's found in the air. They found them in pine needles now, and they use that as kind of the canary in the coal mine to see where things are. It's also present in firefighting foam. It's called AFFF. So this is Lake Mickey, which is north of Durham. Durham has several drinking water supplies. This is one of them. That's the Duke women's rowing team. Down there's the Hall River, and that is a woman named Kelly Hare in Bladen County, and her well, her drinking water well, and her private lake, Marshwood Lake, has been contaminated by Chemours and DuPont. And that happened because they basically discharged PFAS into the Cape Fear River and through the air through their stacks for 30 years and didn't tell anybody. So that's, and Chemours is still, arguing with the state about the degree of the cleanup. It's almost impossible to remove these compounds from the environment, or at least from water. You have to have a very sophisticated treatment system. So that's why we're all drinking it. The problem with 1,4-dioxane, this pegs Greensboro. Greensboro 1,4-dioxane is like in degreasers, so they have industrial customers that then discharge into the sewer system. You can't remove 1,4-dioxane easily from that, and then Greensboro sends that down into the Hall River. What happened is some of their industrial customers have put so much 1,4-dioxane into the sewer system that then just bypasses treatment, is that it went into the Pittsburgh drinking water, and people were drinking high levels of 1,4-dioxane for a while. Really bad, really, really bad. Transparency, we can't find out who did it. The way the law is written, Greensboro can keep secret the responsible party for this. And the reason for that is the industrial companies don't want people to know that they're responsible, and the utility doesn't want to out them because then they'll go somewhere else. I mean, they get, cities get money for these kinds of discharges. So only through state pressure did we find out it was, in the first spill, it was a company called Shamrock. And now there was one last year and we still don't know. And they don't have to tell you. So there's no way to know what industry is responsible for this. So this is all a long way of saying that it's really, really important that everyone go to those boring Board of Adjustment meetings. I've seen boards of adjustment actually reject things before because of it. This happened for a landfill in Kittrell in Vance County, and they said no. And it was very contentious, but the community prevailed because they didn't want it. It was the constituents' wish. So it's very important that you stay engaged in those local government arenas. And if you see a state law that is going to circumscribe your ability, your local government ability, or if any of you hold office to do what's best for your county, that's also important. And the other thing is, you know, we're all interdependent in a way. We all drink, we all want clean water, we all want clean air, and I think it's kind of cliche that we all live downstream, but we need each other in this because we're outmanned, outgunned when it comes to lawyers and polluting industries, and the only way to really get a handle on it is to be engaged with your local folks and know who's giving to what and what kind of backdoor deals are being done, because I'm guaranteeing you they are. And now the beer cart will come and I'll take questions if there are any.
We have time for a couple of questions.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I know that wasn't happy at all. I meant to be happier. I meant to end on a better note, but I'm sorry I didn't. But anyway, if you have questions and you want to ask me personally, I'll be around for like 10 minutes.
I have a question for you.
Oh, sure.
Are you, Jeff Scott from Mecklenburg County, are you set up to be able to take on the internet a secure drop so that you can receive information from potential whistleblowers, whether they are with public utilities or whoever?
Yes. In fact, well, there's several ways. We have high security on our email, but also I use an app on my phone called Signal, and that is encrypted. So you can, if you have a Signal app on your phone, my cell phone number, which I can give to folks because it's public, is 919-536-2341, and you can reach me via that number via the Signal app, and you can send me things in secret. Sir.
Hi, Thomas Watercott from Guilford County. I'm also the 6th U.S. Congressional District candidate for the Libertarian Party. Do you have any sample legislation you'd like to see passed in the federal level? And do you have legislation that you would like to see targeted to be removed on the federal level? And can you get that to those of us that are going to be in office next year?
I'm not, as a journalist, allowed to advocate, but I can tell you that a national drinking water standard for that PFAS stuff needs to happen. That would be legislation that I think is, I could openly say we need, because if you have a national drinking water standard, then the polluters have to adhere to that, and if they don't, they have to pay.
Okay, and I know you're not attacking and pointing out the pipelines and the agricultural problems. You're not attacking the pipeline, and generally you're attacking the spills.
Yes.
And how we need to find ways to effectively use those systems and prevent the spills from ever happening.
Right.
And also justly compensate people, even to the point where we should probably have legislation ahead of time that says that they need to escrow X amount of money before they even start doing anything for the purchase and recompense to the property owners. Right. And I would suggest that they, once they decide the property line, they actually go and figure out what the highest value property is and escrow that for every property.
Right, and they should have a bond, yeah.
Yeah, and have it bonded.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yes, and then on agriculture, we need to find more effective systems. And the open pit agricultural waste pits is actually polluting in one more way that you didn't mention. They off-gas methane
Oh, right.
when they're sitting open. If they are a closed pit where they capture methane, they're actually an alternative fuel source.
Mhm.
I actually wrote about that when I was, I think it was like 16 or 17 in high school. So I know you're not attacking the farmers. You're
No.
trying to find a better way of doing
Right,
things.
my granddad was a farmer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I come from a long line of farmers and ranchers
Yeah,
myself.
I'm from rural
That's why
Indiana, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that because a lot of people, when they start seeing these things, they think, oh, she's anti-farmer, she's
No,
anti-this.
no.
It's like, no. We want to find better ways to do things
Right.
without polluting. We want to find ways to compensate people when we have to do these structures like pipelines. And pipelines are actually, for the most part, a lot safer than shipping it by train or shipping it by truck. I'm a truck driver. It's a lot safer as far as on a per barrel basis than shipping it the other way. It's just that the detection systems for leaks need to be improved, and there needs to be more reporting on it, so it needs to be more open.
Yes, I'm all for transparency. That's, I think with transparency, we have knowledge and then we can act accordingly.
Yeah, and that's the page I'm working from.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Last question, Mr. DiFiore.
Steve DiFiore, Mecklenburg County.
Hi.
Are you aware of any interest in the journalistic profession to conduct investigative journalism on this issue to raise awareness? And are you aware of any particular outfits, whether it's print publication, local news affiliates, etc., that are interested in investigating instances of industrial pollution, whether on the part of big industrial polluters or even utilities, and then trying to hold account the public officials who try to hide this or obfuscate what's going on? Is there anything going on in journalism that are helping to elevate this idea and inform the broader public that this is an issue that is negatively impacting property values, health, and general quality of life, especially in these areas that are being hard hit, like say in Burlington, for example?
Yeah, well, that's what I do for a living, but there are, I would say ProPublica, which is a great website. There are a lot of investigative, particularly in the environment is ProPublica. It's ProPublica.org. They do a lot of work, and you could in Mecklenburg County, Nick Oshner, he's in TV. He does a lot of that work, and then I do a lot of. That's all I do, is hold people accountable and try to root out bad guys.
NC Policy Watch has your stuff in an email you can get
Yes,
almost every day.
that's right. That's
all
right.
All these have been out there before. It's just
Yeah.
not working.
Thank you. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks.
Let's get another round of applause. Thank you very much, Lisa. We appreciate your time and speaking to us. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn the mic over to Susan for about 5 minutes or so. She'd like to give a kind of a state of Region 5 thing and let everybody know where things stand in the region that we're a part of. So, Susan, can you come on up?
Yeah, sure.
For those of you that don't know, Susan is the Region 5 rep for the LNC.
So I was talking to someone yesterday, sorry, I forget who, and he said, I'm not really familiar with all this National Party stuff. Like, do you do something for the National Party? And I remember when I was in those blissful days, so, because you said, I focus more, on local activism and at the state level. Please stay that way. That's awesome. But just an outline, the National Party is governed more or less by we have an amazing staff that we're growing and professionalizing, and they have 4 great departments. But the party is governed by a board, the National Committee, and it consists of 5 at-large representatives, the officers, secretary, treasurer, vice chair, chair, and representatives from 8 regions in the United States, comprising state parties that in each region represent at least 10% of Libertarian membership in the party. So North Carolina is in Region 5. Every convention, which the national conventions happen every other year in the even years, every convention the regions reform. Right now, and for a long time, North Carolina has been in Region 5, which is broadly the Mid-Atlantic, from Pennsylvania to South Carolina. And before, or on the first day, usually the first day of the convention, the delegates from the states in that region get together, assuming they want to stay in that region, and select a representative. So I'm the representative for Region 5 at this time. I just want to give you a little grounding, because I know a lot of people don't really know how national works, and again, that's cool. Keep it that way. But just a few things. This year, well, last year marked our 50th anniversary as a party. So I don't think that people understand, sometimes I think that people don't understand what an amazing accomplishment that is. The Libertarian Party of North Carolina is almost that old, 47 years, 48. The third parties, ideological parties, other parties, the United States has a two-party political system. And there's an important role for ideological parties, and they come and go with some frequency. The success of the Libertarian Party has encouraged the Democrats and the Republicans to make it more difficult for and the Reform Party, to make it more difficult for ideological parties to have success. However, we've consistently worked to defeat that, and we've managed to retain ballot access in a majority of states year after year, and that's one of the main functions of the National Party, is maintaining ballot access. It's also one of the main functions of the state parties. It's much easier here in North Carolina than it used to be, but I know many of you have stood outside of grocery stores with clipboards, and that's a pretty agonizing process. So if you are inclined to support ballot access at the national level, which means that the National Party does actually pay petitioners in some states to get state parties on the ballot, as they have helped North Carolina in the past, and other efforts of the National Party, including legal battles, things like that, please feel free to go to lp.org and donate. And if you're not a dues-paying member of the National Party, I encourage you to be. You don't have to be a delegate, but I encourage you to join the National Party, to support it at least a minimal level every year. And again, you can do that at lp.org. Last year, like I said, was our 50th anniversary, and we had a big party in Denver. I don't know how many of you made it. A couple of you, I think, were there. Region 5, we lost an alternate. So each region has a delegate, a representative, that's me right now, and an alternate. And that was David Valente. He was selected at the last convention. He had to step down. Otto Dazing was selected as our alternate. He would be here this weekend, but he's in Pennsylvania, dodging the fisticuffs that apparently have broken out. Or giving them, who knows?
By the way, thank you for not having that happen here. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's after we
Yeah.
finish 1 o'clock.
I have to say, I'm heartbroken that I couldn't make it to Pennsylvania. Not really. I was actually sort of relieved. I like exciting, but a different kind of exciting. So I just want to give everyone a grounding on how national works. When you get to Reno, there will be a brief, we hope, credentialing process where the delegates all select or approve the delegates from each state, and then we'll get down to business. So how many of you who are going to Reno have not been to a national convention? Super. Okay. You will have a great time. I'll try to get some information out to that. If you haven't done it and you were selected as a delegate, can you please go right now to lp.org, get on the convention page and register? Because you'll need to do that. That's those are the things that I wanted to say mostly. We have managed to keep fundraising at a very high level, even in a non-presidential year. So there's always a bit of a drop in membership and fundraising after a presidential cycle, but we've done remarkably well. We have a very professional and dedicated development team, and our staff and board members who've made calls and done work on that have done an amazing job. Then one other thing I want to say at a state level, because I don't know if Joe said it, there is a Facebook group. I know we're supposed to get off Facebook and start knocking doors, but there is a Facebook group for LPNC members only. And if you're not in it and you do partake of Facebook, I know it's an old person thing, but then either maybe Brad can post it to the convention page or whatever for this convention, or if you just search for LPNC members, it's a private group. You can apply to come in. You have to be a registered the broad requirements, there are exceptions, is you have to be a registered Libertarian or not registered in any other party and an active member of the LPNC, which you all are here. So I hope you'll join. There's some good discussion. And if you have any questions about the convention, Region 5, National Party, shoot. Otherwise, I see Joe about to hook me off the stage. So, thanks.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, I left my agenda. Mr. Ulmer, you have the floor. Yes.
Chair, I move, we have a little time left. I move the convention resume work on the platform. We tabled one item yesterday, and I'm aware of another item that needs to be presented, which will go very quick, because I know it's going to be very popular and shouldn't allow us to finish up with the little time we have left, the work of the platform committee. So I move the convention vote to resume work on the platform.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hessel. Debate? Hearing none. We can say by acclamation, done. Okay. I'd like to ask Mr. Irving to come up. He had submitted a while back in writing a plank regarding North Carolina National Guard. I'd like him to present that to the body. So, go ahead, Brian. Yep.
I'll do it from here. It's easier.
Thank you.
I don't want to climb any more steps. I might fall down. This is a platform plank that I thought of at the same time I thought of making these buttons and writing the resolution. It essentially says what the resolution says that was unanimously passed. North Carolina National Guard. This would be placed. It's in your packet on the back of the resolution, and I know everybody's read it. The North Carolina National Guard, the LPNC opposes the unconstitutional deployment of the North Carolina National Guard as an instrument of U.S. foreign policy. Neither the NCNG nor any member should be released from the state into active duty combat unless the United States Congress has declared war pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15 of the U.S. Constitution, and only for the express and explicit purposes enumerated by the Constitution to execute the laws of the Union, repel an invasion, or suppress an insurrection. We call upon the NC General Assembly to enact legislation prohibiting deployment of the State National Guard unless Congress and the President of the United States have compiled with this constitutional mandate. And I ask for a second.
Second.
Who was the second? Mr. Prince? Wrong. Okay. Debate. Hearing none. Let's move to a vote. All in favor? Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Yeah, we're done. You just thank you. Congratulations. It passed. It's added to the platform. Mr. Ullmer.
Yes, Chair. I suggest we go back to item 12, secession, which is what we tabled yesterday. And I have an amendment to the wording or the proposed wording. It'll be a real simple, easy one. Maybe we'll give Ryan here 30 seconds to get his stuff together. I will, when he has the wording up, I will propose the new wording. It's just a one-word change, and then I'll give a short explanation.
We did it. Yeah.
That was what we pulled it off the table.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Ullmer, go ahead. We have it up on the screen now. Can everybody has their packet?
The LPNC recognizes the right to peaceful, I'm inserting the word peaceful before political, political secession. This includes the right to secession by political entities, private groups, or individuals. Exercises its right, like the exercise of all other rights, does not remove legal and moral obligations not to violate the rights of others. I know this group is familiar with the NAP. I know it seems somewhat redundant, and you probably shouldn't have to say it. I simply point out what others have pointed out. We use the platform to communicate with people outside of the Libertarian Party. So you're pointing people who maybe don't know us very well, not familiar with the NAP, to this platform. In light of some of the stuff that's going on in the world, I'm thinking maybe a little bit like January 6th, I think we want to have something there that indicates we're thinking peaceful, which would mean maybe something like Brexit, where people negotiate, they vote, it happens in a very peaceful manner. So I just want to add one word, and then if you're going to vote for this, that word will be there. So that's my proposal.
We have a second for Mr. Alderman's amendment. Ms. O'Donnell, I saw her hand first. Thank you. Debate? All right, hearing none, we're going to move right to a vote. I didn't see any hands go up.
On the amendment.
Oh, on the amendment, yes, on the amendment. So I'll read the amendment one more time, just so everybody knows what they're voting on. The LPNC recognizes the right to peaceful political secession. This includes the right to secession by political entities, private groups, or individuals. Exercise of this right, like the exercise of all other rights, does not remove legal and moral obligations not to violate the rights of others. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All of those opposed? Thank you. And Brad?
5 yes, 0 no.
Motion passes. So now, the amendment passes. So now we're gonna vote.
Or have more
Oh, I'm sorry, back to debate, sorry, back to debate. Mr. Bell?
Gavin Bell, Person County. I have submitted this in writing through another email to the secretary. Even with this proposal, this added one word. My proposal, and hear me out, y'all, is to change the word secession the 3 times that it's mentioned to separation. Has the exact same meaning, but it just doesn't use the buzzword. And I believe that affects some of us more than others. Some of us are running in districts out in rural North Carolina, word secession, fine. Some of us are running in more urban areas around Durham, and that word just has a lot of connotation to it, and it has the same meaning as separation, but without the connotation of secession. So that is my proposal, is change the word secession in the title, in the first sentence, and in the second sentence to separation.
So
Exact same
wait.
meaning, just not buzzword.
So Ryan, can you get those changes up on the screen so everybody can see it, and I will read through it? This way, before we ask for a second, so people understand what they're seconding, if they're planning on it.
I don't know how to spell it. It's supposed to be separation. Thank you for sending an email. I did see that, but where is it? Secession right here. I lost it. I trust you. I lost the email. Thank you. I did see it. Can't spell.
Okay, we're good?
All right.
So as Mr. Bell had mentioned, it's essentially changing the word from secession to separation. I'll read it again before I ask for a second, so everybody understands what they're seconding, okay? Separation is the changed wording of the plank now, rather than secession. The LPNC recognizes the right to peaceful political separation. This includes the right to separate by political entities, private groups, or individuals. Exercise of this right, like the exercise of all other rights, does not remove legal and moral obligations not to violate the rights of others. Is there a second for this amendment? Mr. Mizell, second. Debate. Mr. Brown.
Ryan Brown, Granville County. I like the word secession. I understand there's a lot of baggage to it, but it's radical, and that's what I want this plank to be. So, it's obviously up to the body, but I wrote this, and so I'm partial to it. So, I wish it would stay as secession. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further debate? Mr. Lindborg? I'm sorry, Ms. Schultz and then Mr. Lindborg.
Would this also change the change of the title?
Yes, so I don't know if you can see it, but as I mentioned in the beginning, it changes it from secession to separation. Mr. Lindborg?
Eric Lindborg, Cabarrus County.
I had a chance to speak with Gavin last night because I wanted to hear his concerns with this term, and I do understand his concerns with the term, I really do. However, I do rise in opposition to the proposal to change the wording. I also agree that we do need the radical stance, baggage and all. Redeem the term for what it should actually be about. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further debate? No, can somebody, instead of Tom having to come all the way up, can somebody run a microphone back to Mr. Watercott, please? Thank you, Ryan.
This isn't about votes. I see both points of view, and I think if we kept I'm not proposing an amendment because that would be out of order, but if we kept the title of the plank as succession and used separation instead of succession in the body of the thing, would that be an acceptable compromise that would reach the same resolution?
So you're asking for a friendly amendment to
I'm
Mr.
asking
Bell's
a friendly
amendment?
amendment from both parties.
Well, no, right now we're discussing Mr. Bell's amendment, which is up on the screen.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting to keep the rest of the text the same, but just change the title back to secession?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Bell?
I do not accept that as a friendly amendment because I don't think that would fix the ultimate problem.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Mr. Watercott. Any further? Name and county, please, sir.
Beverly Wilcox, Rockingham County. I stand in favor of this amendment. Secession has far too much baggage. If we're trying to change the hearts of people, we need to do it in language that they're comfortable with, not stand strong and radical and loose. I do believe that this will be pounced upon by too many people who won't even understand what we're saying.
Thank you. Ms. Hogarth? We are keeping time, by the way, so.
Okay. Just a contra to what Bev just said, I do want to say that South Carolina just passed a secession plank at their convention in the fall. And it did garner press. It did garner hostile press. And that was a great opportunity for making their case back in the press. And they took it. And it started a good dialogue, I think. I think it's probably time that in the South we reclaim certain concepts, and the ability to walk out is the most important one. You can play word games, but if we talk about secession and we don't say it, we're not fooling anyone. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah. I'm going to give Ryan the floor for a moment. Go ahead.
Just to this amendment, yes, it's the S word, right? But at the same time, if we make people uncomfortable, that's how they learn. If we never try and challenge anybody at all, then they're never going to actually get interested. They're never going to think, wow, they believe secession. What does that really mean? I think it's clear. This is what we mean. So.
Thank you, Ryan. Any further debate? All right, Mr. Courtney?
Because this is how we're facing, though, it essentially serves as a recruiting tool for unaffiliated voters, moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans who might be looking for other alternatives. Just because we believe something doesn't necessarily mean we need to put it in our platform. If you ask me where I stand on prostitution, what happens between two consenting adults is none of my business, and it's none of the government's business either. But I'm not going to slap the phrase legalize prostitution on all of my campaign literature and go out to the community with it. So I just think we need to be very cognizant of how this could potentially be interpreted by individuals that are considering coming into the Libertarian Party.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney. I think we have time for one more, and then we're going to have to move to a vote. Coming up on time. Yes,
Noah
sir.
Zinger for Scythe County. I don't think we're trying to appeal to people that are terribly moderate. I think ultimately a lot of the complaints that I've heard since I've become more active in this party is that we're not radical enough. And I think people on both sides of the aisle are tired of milquetoast candidates that get into positions and do nothing. And I think the radical language will bring us press, which is a good opportunity. I mean, look at what the truckers are doing. That's radical. and the media and the change that they have caused has just been insane. And I think that this is a great plank, and I think we should keep it.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna have to move to a vote now. So, on the current amendment as it's written, I will read it one last time and then we will go to a vote. The amendment changes the title from secession to separation, and the wording now reads, the LPNC recognizes the right to peaceful political separation. This includes the right to separation by political entities, private groups, or individuals. Exercise of this right, like the exercise of all other rights, does not remove legal and moral obligations not to violate the rights of others. All of those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. All of those opposed? Thank you. The noes have it, so this fails. Sorry to the online folks, but it was
5
clear.
yes, 1 no.
Yeah, it's still clear. All right, so moving back to the proposed initial wording, I'll read it one more time so everybody understands. So the title now is Secession. The LPNC recognizes the right to peaceful political secession. This includes the right to secession by political entities, private groups, or individuals. Exercise of this right, like the exercise of all other rights, does not remove legal and moral obligations not to violate the rights of others. All those in favor? What? Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Debate. Excuse me. You're right. Sorry, you caught me. Thank you.
10 minutes more.
10 minutes. We have 10 minutes for debate. Mr. Irvin, and then Mr. Seardorf is recognized second.
I rise in opposition to the proposed platform plank addition. The National Party platform says self-determination. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of individual liberty, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and agree to such government, to such a new government as to them shall most likely to protect their liberty. Anybody recognize that's quotes right out of the Declaration of Independence? That's radical. It's in the national platform. Doesn't use the word secession, but it actually implies that we have the right to rebel against unlawful authority. I don't know how more radical you can get. I believe in the radical idea of, we have radical ideas, we know that we need to push them, we need not to be ashamed of standing up for them, but there's a way we can do that without using buzzwords like secession. I'm sorry, but people have this in their mindset, the mainstream media will crucify us. And I don't want us to be having to put out fires. I want us to be able to go into a meeting. We just did the Defend the Guard plank, which I think is pretty radical. I hope that gets some media attention because we're sticking our nose into Congress's business. But again, we could say, I almost voted for the separation word because it kind of softens it a little bit. But we don't need to use the buzzwords that the tribal parties already use. We need to come up with our own terminology. So I don't want to be a candidate having to run and defend, to spend 20 minutes talking to a media guy about secession when I have more important issue I want to discuss.
Thank you, Mr. Irving. Mr. Seardorf is next.
And I'm a Yankee, and I think you guys have the right to secede.
Nate Seedorf, Gaston County.
Hold on, wait. Let me correct that. You were a damn Yankee, like myself. Mr. Seardorf, go ahead.
No, I'm still a damn Yankee.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Nate Seedorf, Gaston County. I think this plank should not be added to our platform, mainly because of the word, because it has so much stigma around it. But like other people have already mentioned, we believe that, prostitution should be legal, but we're not going to put it on our platform and say everyone should have a right to buy hookers. We also believe that most drugs should be legalized, but we're not going to put, I want to sell black tar heroin on our platforms. Having to defend this is going to take away from our overall message. It also is true, it's a buzzword, and it's going to be bad media coverage regardless of how well we can defend it and how much media coverage that we can get. We actually already mentioned the right of people to leave certain entities in the other proposed change, annexation, where we say where government exists, a person must retain the right to join or leave them voluntarily. So we've already addressed the rights of people to leave a government entity. I don't think that we need to have a platform with that particular word that's going to cause negative media attention.
Thank you. Mr. Irving, could you let me know how much time we have left for debate? How much?
8 minutes.
Okay, Mr. DiFiore.
Steve DiFiore, Mecklenburg County. I rise in support of the amendment, and I'm going to give a quick anecdote onto what kind of opportunity we can use. Secession is a buzzword, but I can give you an example in Charlotte of how the threat of secession caused the city government to be more responsive to its community. So I don't know if you know this, but the southern part of Charlotte, South Park, Ballantyne, that area, pays almost 50% of the tax burden for the entire city, but for many, many years got less than 10% of all the reoccurring reinvestment. This started to have really negative impacts on that part of town when it began to grow and redevelop. There was an instance, for example, when a townhome community was forced to not be built because the plumbing infrastructure hadn't been upgraded in 40 years, and the developer didn't have the money to do the upgrades. And that's because the city was not responsible in its obligations to its constituents. So there was a movement for the town of Providence. Basically, the local communities in southern Charlotte says, you know what, the city of Charlotte, City Hall, Central Charlotte, they're not really caring about us, so we're going to separate from them, we're going to secede, form our own town, and do the things that we want to do. And you know what that did? That got a lot of momentum behind it. A lot of people in that area of town liked it, and the Charlotte City Council and the bureaucracy around it freaked the hell out. And you know what they did? They said, all right, we're going to start putting a lot of investment into your area of town. And that actually started a conversation. In fact, I was at a candidate event with Jeff Scott over here, and we talked specifically about secession, using that word at an AME Zion church. And guess what? Nods, applause, and people are smart enough when they're politically active to know that this word has a specific civic meaning. And we understand as Americans that when our government, when the authorities that lord themselves over us do not represent our interests, we have a right to go our own way. And there are those who are not educated on this because they only got their civics classes in public schools, but this is an opportunity for us to educate them if only we know how. I do believe it is an opportunity. I understand and I empathize with the fears over the negative impact of such wording in our platform, but I do believe wholly that this is an opportunity if only we know how to seize it. It is fully in line with our keeping. It is radical enough, and at the same time, I have seen with my own eyes benefits for local communities that have threatened to separate from whatever power was not doing its upholding its obligation to its constituents. So I rise in favor of this, and I urge us to think about this in a new and constructive way. It is an opportunity, and I think it is a fair addition to our platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiFiore. Any other debate? How much time do we have left, Mr. Irving?
4 minutes.
We have 4 minutes. If there's any other debate, let's try not to repeat what's been said before. Let's try to bring some new stuff. Yeah, I don't want to keep repeating the same things. If you have something new to add, that's great. But you know.
That's one point. I've actually witnessed the Ballantyne issue in Charlotte myself, having gone to school in Charlotte. However, I would like to point out again that we have something already involving separation in the previous platform agreement. I think that we should focus our time on promoting all the other planks on our platform as opposed to the one that is going to cause most media attention, that we're not going to get attention for any of the other ones if we put this in there.
Thank you. Mr. Hopper, did you want to add something? I saw you up. Okay, cool. Yes, sir. Name and county, don't forget.
Noah Zinger, Forsyth County.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, we're growing as a party right now, and there's going to be a point where we're going to get negative media attention because the media doesn't really stand for our values. So how long are we going to try to fly under the radar before we just accept that, this is what we stand for, and, the media is going to come after us. That's just the way it's going to be. So we can take that and use it to educate people and, build a name for ourselves, or we can just try to fly under the radar as far as we can, but we might not grow as much that way either. So.
Thank you. Mr. Irving, how much time do you have? 2.5 minutes? 3 minutes.
Andrea O'Donnell, Dare County. I am very torn about this, but I do have one question that keeps coming to mind. If we do get a bunch of press coverage, who's gonna manage it?
can send all angry emails and letters, everything to me, and I will respond to every single one of them.
Steve mentioned our candidate appearances, and I remember this coming up specifically in the context of the Spanish problems in 2017, Catalonia, and the Republicans in the crowd were shocked, but a lot of people in the audience did indeed nod their head, talking about separation. Having said that, I'm going to be voting against this because I think this is an issue that's very difficult for candidates. And if candidates want to talk about it, if they want to talk about separation, breakaway republics, Brexit, they've done their homework talking about these issues, then they can make very powerful statements. But for candidates who are not prepared to talk about this, they should just stay away from it. And the other thing that I don't like, I believe that the word individuals in here is a poison pill. I think it's entirely possible that we could become a target of the Department of Homeland Security for putting that in there, because they're going after the, quote, sovereign citizens movement. Okay, so they've been very explicit about this. So you want to be very careful, even as a candidate, bringing up stuff like that. Thank you.
Mr. Irving, how much time we have left? 2 minutes. Name and county, please.
I would like to argue against
Name and county, please. Try to.
So that Zach Thomas, Forsyth County.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to argue against this for the reason that our position is already clearly in support of self-determination. And, you know, I don't think that it's necessary to add this. Also, I don't think it's necessary to add this because of redundancy. If we could go ahead and look back at the annexation portion of that sheet.
Thank you. Mr. Jacobson?
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the cat is out of the bag. In Europe right now, both sides favor secession. This word will not go away. We need to own it and take advantage of it. People over there either want Ukraine to secede from Russia successfully, or they want Donbass to secede from Ukraine. You can't be out there and not hear this topic being talked about constantly. It's time to engage it aggressively and overtly, because it will be either way, whether we join that or not. This is an active discussion.
Okay. We have 1 minute. Last minute. This is last minute. So.
Ryan Brown, Granville County. One thing I've noticed is that libertarianism is very messy, and it's very controversial, and it's very radical. And for far too long, we try to paper over all of that until someone gets in there and they're like, well, what do you really believe? Oh, so you are in favor of secession, you just don't want to use the word secession. Oh, you are in favor of legalizing all drugs, but you don't actually go out and necessarily say all, or, you know, whatever his example was. I wish that we were to be straightforward and bold and claim it and say what we believe, because
time. We're time.
All right, thank you.
Ryan. Yep, no. So I'm going to read this one more time, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this by count, because I think this is going to be a close one. So rather than keep everybody and do multiple votes, we'll do this by count. I'll ask everybody to stand up in support and then sit down, and then everybody against to stand up and then sit down. I'll read this one more time so everybody's clear on what they're voting on. Secession. The LPNC recognizes the right to peaceful political secession. This includes the right to secession by political entities, private groups, or individuals. Exercise of this right, like the exercise of all other rights, does not remove the legal and moral obligations not to violate the rights of others. When you stand, please face the room and look at me. Don't look away, because we had some times where there's some confusing counts. When I point to you, please sit down as you count off, and then I'll go to the other side. We're going to start with the right side of the room, then the left side of the room. Okay? So, all in favor of this addition to the platform, please stand. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
10. That's not nice. 7, 8,
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
19, 20, 21,
22, 23,
24.
25, 26, 27,
wait, hold on, wait, 1 second. Mr. DiFiore was 26.
28,
31. That's 31. Mr. Hessel, how many do we have online?
2 yes.
So that's, what do you say, so 33? Thank you. All those opposed, please rise. Doesn't have it. I'm gonna do the count anyway, since we're doing the count. You ready, John?
1,
Uh,
2, 3, 4, 5,
6,
7, 8, 9,
wait, all right, we'll do it that way now, since you did it. 9, John?
10,
11, 12,
14,
15,
16, 17, 18, 19.
Thank you. 19, and how many no's online?
3 no.
And I heard somebody mention there's no reason. No, there is a reason, because when I move to take a count, I have to count. So, yeah, it was 19.
3 no.
3 no. So what are the totals altogether? It's 33, 4, and how many against?
22 no.
And 22 no's. So it passes and it's added. Thank you. All right. Oh, wait, actually, wait, is that, I'm sorry, wait, stand by a second, wait. Wait, hold on, wait. Do we have 2/3? It's two, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's gotta be 2/3.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that, I got ahead of myself, apologize.
Earlier this morning, I thought you said 36, right, Brad? Brad, are you paying attention? Brad?
Yeah.
What was it, 2/3? Earlier today, I thought you said 36.
That's not my department, that's right.
60%.
Oh.
It failed.
Sorry, it failed. It failed, it does not get added. Thank you for doing the math. So I believe that's gonna close, Mr. Irving?
I've been standing up here harassing you folks. I'm Brian Irving from Wake County, in case anybody doesn't know that. I'd like everybody who's running for office in this room to please stand and state your name and what you're running for.
Unshare, please.
Just shout it out. You should be able to talk to a crowd without a microphone.
That's right.
Thank you.
Here, Gavin, you start us off. Where are you running?
I am running for NC House District 2, which is all of Person County and North Durham. We're supposed to be more towards the east of it, and then a little bit of a mess. Gavin Bell, Person County, NC House District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Nick Taylor. Running for NC House 25. It's in Nash County, hour east of Raleigh. I'm super excited. I'm glad every single one of y'all is here. If I haven't hugged you or touched you yet, when it comes to it. But thank you guys for being here. Like this is awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Chris Mizell, Wake County. I will be running for NC House District 38, which is pretty much downtown Raleigh and a little bit extra.
Thank you. Mr. Hall.
Oh, and I'm only running against a Democrat, no Republican, so kind of excited about that.
I'm Sean Haw, Libertarian for NC State House District 31, which is southeastern Durham County, and I also do not have a Republican opponent.
Okay.
David Cookney, running for U.S. House in District 11/14/11 once again, and encompasses most of western North Carolina.
Nate Seedorf, I'm running for school board for Gaston County.
Nice.
Just in case anybody didn't catch it from when earlier, I've always been talking. My name's Thomas Watercott. I'm Guilford County. I'm running for the 6th U.S. Congressional District. That's all of Rockingham County, most of Caswell County, all of Guilford County, and a small part of Forsyth County. And if you're from any of those counties and you want to touch base with me, I'm on Facebook. Feel free to friend me. Even if you're not in that county, feel free to friend me. feel free to point your friends at my campaign Facebook page. I'd also like to mention we have a senator running. Unfortunately, he's not here today. Shannon, I don't know his last name, but
Bray.
Shannon Ray.
Bray, B-R-A-Y.
Yep. Shannon Bray. I will drill that into the back of my head. So let's let the next person go.
Thank you.
So you're in a little bit of trouble here because I have both microphones. The only
Well-
thing I wanted to say is, Joe, you've run. Wait, more?
Wait, hold on. Wait, oh, Dee, we forgot about Dee, don't forget about her. We don't want to make Dee angry.
I'm Dee Watson, and I am running for North Carolina Senate 16, and I really wanted the microphone because if you have a clean copy of the bylaws or rules, if you could put it right on this table, we can reuse it for the next convention. We cannot take platform. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dee. Wait, hold on, Dee. Oh.
Ryan Brown, Granville County. I am running in Senate District 18, which is the northern part of Wake County, up into Granville County.
And wait, before David speaks, I just want to ask everybody for chair's privilege. I know we're at 12 o'clock. I really just want to make a quick address to everybody after David's speaking. So if you could just hang around for under 5 minutes, okay? Thank you, David.
I just want to say this has been one of the best run conventions in time. You've done an awesome job, Joe. I appreciate it. I appreciate the crew, Pride, laptop, and Dee for doing a fantastic job at the registration desk.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all the work.
So first, I'd like to thank David for that. That was very nice. I want to thank David, and I want to thank Brian, and I'd like to thank Ryan and Steve and Brad and John and everybody else that helped make this possible. I mean, this went pretty well. I wasn't expecting that we were going to get through this, but we did. Even for all the debate back and forth, you know, it was pretty respectful, and you know, everybody was trying to get through it, and everybody was very thoughtful. I appreciate that. I would just like everybody to give Zach Lentz, our convention chair, a huge round of applause for putting this together with the rest of the convention committee. I would also like to thank Sean Haw, who helped wrangle a lot of the speakers, or I think almost all of them. So a big thank you to Sean for taking care of that. I'm going to give Brian a quick 10 seconds, then I'm going to finish up.
I'll let Joe finish, but this is the, I've been to...
Microphone,
Grab a microphone.
please. I got a big mouth because the.
I've been to several conventions, 10, 15, 20, I haven't lost count. In my memory, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, Barbara, or I love, this is the first convention where we haven't suspended the rules once.
Thank you, Brian. All right, so lastly, something that I'd like to address, because this has come up in our Facebook group, and it's something I've been discussing all weekend. We had a member that came in at the tail end of a conversation I was having today about elections and things that we need to do in order to be successful here in North Carolina. And he literally heard about an eighth of what I said. And a lot of you could probably attest to what I have been speaking about all weekend, because I've spoken to multiple people about this. What I have said is that we're going to have a very hard time winning just running at the state level. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. If we had 1,000 candidates, you know, if we could fill every single ballot up, I would love to do that. What I have been saying, though, and I said this the other day, I said this at the opening, is that we need people not only to run for local offices, but to also get active locally. We need to build our brand, okay? So even if you're not interested in running for local office, if you have the desire, if you're in an unorganized county, to start up an affiliate, please let us know. You can email me at chair@lpnc.org. Forget about the county organizer one, because people forget it. chair@lpnc.org. I will get you in touch with Jeremy and the affiliate team, and we will get you started. We have a really good process in place now. All right, like I said, since last year, we have 7 new affiliates. Stephen DiFiore told me we have another 3 going online soon, which is going to be great, okay? The other thing is that in your area, if you're not willing or able to, you know, be on an EC and start up a local affiliate, if you have any issues locally that you want to address, let us know. I'll do what I can to help you. Mike Ross pointed out, I went through this the other night, there was a homeless veteran that was assaulted by the police, had a service dog tased. His service dog ran away and died. We had a very successful rally the night. We had a lot of great press. I have people reaching out to me, and even Mike, saying, hey, are we going to be out there again next month? And the Gaston Gazette was really, really gracious with a lot of quote space. Brian Irving, who has done a lot of media and press stuff in the past, actually reached out to me and said, wow, that was a lot of good press. Like, usually they give you like a one-liner. I mean, I had multiple quotes in an article. Spike had multiple quotes, right? And I'm hoping to get Spike out there again. But being behind a computer and sharing memes is fun, and it's great. And if you're sharing them out publicly, it does get a little bit of a message out there. But we need to get our asses out of our seats, and we need to interact with our communities. That's how we're going to be successful. It can't just be one thing. It can't just be, we're just going to run for these types of offices. We got to hit everything. And if we start interacting in our own communities and we learn what our own communities need and we can help address them or at least provide some sort of solutions, people will start to trust us and they're going to start voting for us. Now, the one last thing that I want to address is we have, I think it's 3 candidates. I believe it's Chris Mizell, we have Ryan Brown, and we have Sean Haw, are all running in elections where they're running against a single establishment party opponent. These are winnable races because it's not a 3-way race, it's a 2-way race, which means the other establishment party people are going to be looking for another option. If you're so inclined, either reach out to me or you can reach out to one of these 3 candidates separately. And I'm not saying not to help the other candidates. What I'm saying though is that these are 3 very winnable races, and if we could build up campaign teams to help them promote those races, we have a potential to win 3 seats. That's not to say we can't win more, but these are where the odds are stacked, okay? So I implore you to reach out to these folks and help them out, whether it be helping them out on social media, helping them arrange events, creating messaging, whatever it might be. Help them out, and let's get some wins. I think we could do this, right? I'm fairly confident we have a lot of great candidates, and we could do this, but let's strategize and try to put our efforts where they're gonna have the most impact, all right? I wanna thank everybody. This was a great convention. Everybody was awesome. It was great seeing everybody, and I wanna give you back your Sunday, and this meeting is adjourned. Oh, sorry, what? Oh.
Move to adjourn.
Yep, all right, there you go. Move to adjourn, seconded by Pam. Thank you, Pam. All right. Meeting adjourned. I think it's gonna be over.